There's the flag, please face it. I pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And then, according to the state of South Carolina, here's our civility pledge, which means we'll all be polite to each other. I pledge to build a stronger and more prosperous community by advocating for civil engagement, respecting others, their viewpoints, and finding solutions to the betterment of my town. All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. You can sit down and relax. We have James Gardner, we have Kelly Casino, you're right. My name is David Oscaforth, and Jeff Pardee is meeting his future in-laws tonight. That's going to be the case, so that's an excused absence for a darn good reason. I'd like to introduce the in-laws. Dan O'Hara, who is our planning director, Takia, who is our planning clerk, Catherine Watkins is our guest, town administrator. And I know you're from Matt.
Yes.
Introduce yourself.
Yes, James Ward, Mount Dillon.
First time to see you, and I just thought, okay,
Yes.
figure out who this is. Okay, Madam Clerk, we have a quorum. Is there ever any member of the commission who has a conflict of interest and like to recuse themselves of any matter of discussion? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to begin this public comment section. Point of correction, with minutes first, okay, go for it. I think Kelly has you will actually, you ran the last meeting, so would you do the minutes?
I move we accept the minutes. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Yes.
As written?
Not for me, I wasn't there.
I wasn't there.
So moved. A second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Down, I would like to open the public comment section of the meeting. This is going to be a limited time period. Time will be kept by our administrator. Excuse me, we're going to use our planning director, Mr. O'Hara. It's 2 minutes each. You can speak the second time if everybody else has spoken. All right, you ready to start?
Yes, I have two people signed up. First is Lynn Vickery.
Lynn, please come up. Tell you the school you are, where you're from.
I'm Lynn Vickery, 8474 Road, and I'd like to speak regarding the minutes that you just approved. I'd like to ask an amendment made. On page 206 of the minutes, or 3 of 19 of the packet insert, under public comments to the Vickery and Portendere Road. It says support documents were submitted during public comment and are available upon request from the planning department. I specifically handed them to Takia, and I itemized what I was giving her, which included a reprint of an article from Post Reporter, and I asked that they be attached to the minutes, not available at planning, and I was wondering if that revision could please be made.
We've gone through that before, and he can answer it, but basically we don't want to have to print a huge minutes for everybody. So it is available for public comment, and if he was it in, you have it?
Yes, I have it in the office,
Okay.
but I wasn't here on the 11th, just for the record, I wasn't here on
Was
the
that
11th. So, but
I
I
was
was
here.
here, Catherine was here, she supplied me all of the articles for the public comment, so I do have them that you're available.
Okay, true confession, I misplaced my copy. With the exception of the newspaper. So if you could please send me a copy of my comments so that I can attach them to my records, I would be very grateful. Okay. Okay, Greg, that's my 2 minutes.
We have, we started thinking about attaching everything to the minutes and printing them out, but if I had my brother, everybody who's working in green development and environmental law should have to read the South Spring by Richard Carson from 1972, but it's full of it. It's a darn good book, but I'm not going to attach it to the minutes. So there we are. Anybody?
That recommendation, asked that my comments be attached, was made to me by a staff member
Okay.
because there were times when I felt that my comments were not fully formulated in the context they were intended.
Thank you.
So that was a staff recommendation.
Anybody else?
Yes, Andrew Frazier.
Andrew? Introduce yourself and where you're from.
7854, Andrea Fraser, 7854 Caucus Drive. I just had this afternoon to review these documents and, I have just one comment, and I'm sure that the planning commission is well aware of, the litigation that's going on with the Horton and their septic tanks, and I really would like that to be considered and strong with scrutiny on this 84 development. It's, we failed septic and a source.
We're aware, but tonight we're on architectural review. Okay, any other comments?
May I ask a question about what Mr. Curry requested?
Sure.
Can we, when we receive public comments like that, can we make them as like an appendix to the minutes so that they're available online, but maybe not necessarily have to be printed?
They were.
It's at the discretion of the
Chair,
chair.
so this week I did reach out to the chair and the
Okay.
chair about direction for how these minutes are on those. Additional items are to be posted, when they will be posted, and if they were to be attached to these minutes. And I took my direction straight from the chairs, so.
Okay.
That's what I got.
All good, I was aware.
Online, supposed to be available that way, not right.
Gotcha.
Okay. Now we're, I would like to make a motion to close the public comment section.
There may be one more person that would like to speak.
Very quickly, my concern about having them not available online is that so much of the, I'm sorry.
So are you?
60, well, I'm not, don't know who I am. 60 of that better way, not having things attached in some form of minutes. I understand your desire not to have original amounts, but, we are often, for information that we know is at the town, asked to file a FOIA request, which takes attorney's time to respond to us, which costs us all money. So to the extent that these things can be attached in minutes online, it would be helpful for the citizenry, so.
It will be, that was correct. Anybody else? Okay. I would like to entertain a motion to close the public comment section of this meeting.
I move it.
Second.
Second. Or
Yeah.
who seconded?
No, you won't. I said,
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We're moving on to new business. I would like to have a motion to open a discussion on the architectural submittal review by Dr. Woods. Somebody's in a second.
Second.
Okay, and we did that. All right, all in favor? Done. All right, so
I
we
have
will
one question for,
go first and then
well, that's a quick, easy question.
we'll.
Where is this? Which subdivision is this? What is-
This is the one located over here on Bill Road.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you'll remember, planning commission reviewed an amended preliminary plat earlier this year, particularly on February 23rd, 2026. That was the recorrection of the road and lot sizes changed, and then one lot was required to be civic commercial per the plan development. In accordance to their plan development, they're also responsible for submitting architectural guidelines. Staff at the time was not aware that the planning commission had previously adopted architectural review guidelines. Those were formally adopted by the prior planning commissions, October 15th, 2018. This plan development was approved by the planning commission on December 17th, 2018. And between those minutes, there was no revision to those architectural guidelines. Therefore, any reference to that would default to that guidelines at the time. So those are what were provided to you in your packet and then also referenced in my staff report later. So the proposal for you tonight is from D.R. Horton requesting architectural review as required by the plan development in conjunction with their 84 lot subdivision. Instead of submitting 84 individual plans, staff and legal counsel agreed that the applicant could submit a total package for review, which is before you tonight. The verbatim language is each building has to be reviewed, so. Staff's key findings, in my staff report, there's linked to the house architectural plans, plan rendering and exterior color packages, which will be available for presentation in part of the applicant's review. Just some preliminary things to cover as far as the plan development goes. The maximum lot coverage for single family detached is 25% per primary structure. According to the proposed preliminary plat, the smallest lot is 9,068 square feet. So for that size of lot, the lot coverage could not exceed 22,600 or 2,267 square feet. I ran a number on the largest lot and it can't exceed about I think it's 42,000 square feet rough.
So this involves the 0.208 lots, smallest lots.
Yeah, so from the smallest to largest size, they're allowed a certain amount of coverage.
Yeah, we had not seen 5th acre lots before.
So the maximum building height for this one is 34 feet per review by staff. The highest was no greater than 32. I'm sure the artwork can confirm or deny that later.
Is it 34 or 40? It says 40 on our paper here.
The highest allowed is 40, but the minimum that I found, or the
Okay,
maximum that I found, was 32.
I thought you said 34 instead of
Yeah,
40.
my apologies there. Setbacks and buffers, those will be required on a lot by lot basis based on the plan development. And then the architectural and site design, which is what is up for consideration tonight. The plan development references that exterior construction materials and aesthetics must be approved by the planning commission and follow the on architectural guidelines. The proposed exterior construction materials are shown on the house architectural plans and can be seen visually on the planned renderings. The exterior colors packages also provide those aesthetics. Staff found that the Allendale architectural guidelines reference a low country architecture that is attractive, well-designed and built to human scale to promote and protect the appearance, rural character, and economic value of all development. Particular requirements that apply to exterior construction materials and aesthetics are as follows and found in the Allendale architectural guidelines. Number 3, single large mass buildings shall be avoided. 4, monotony of identical design, multiple building projects shall be avoided. Number 5, architectural detailing shall be present in a consistency in quality design. Number 6, all elevations of a structure shall be in harmony one with another in terms of scale, proportion, detail, material color, and high design quality. Number 7, facade should be broken up with changes in planes and materials with a hierarchy of formal materials. Number 8, variation of detail, form, and siding shall be used to provide visual interest. The use of different textures, shadow lines, and contrasting shapes may also be used to provide visual interest. Number 9, there should be a depth of material and all materials should be labeled with sections showing how different materials are met. Number 10, all building material, elevations, and roofline in public view shall consist of architectural materials which are equal in quality, appearance, and detail to all other exterior elevations of the same structure. The sides and rear of the building shall be as visually attractive as the front elevations. Some key findings. As presented, the applicant has provided multiple elevations of each proposed house plan that may or may not meet the requirements identified above. As required to be deemed acceptable, the exterior construction materials and aesthetics should have 1, form of low country architecture, 2, unique consistency and quality, 3, have varying degrees of materials, textures, and planes that provide visual interest, and 4, all sides of the building shall be as visually attractive as the front elevations. Staff recommend that if approval is granted, the applicant be required to demonstrate they can feasibly achieve the necessary design in not one singular floor plan, but provide creative design and style across multiple varying layouts with similar materials that follow low country architecture, promote and protect the rural character as well as the economic value of all development. Staff recommend that the planning commission determine the allowable exterior construction materials and aesthetics based on the information presented, if feasible, and provide criteria that must be achieved by all structures and confirmed by staff during the zoning permit review process. Additionally, the interest monument building materials must coordinate with the architecture of the full community for the plan development. And then there's some considerations for motion that we can get to later. And staff yields their time for any questions from the commission.
I've talked with Jeff Hardy, who's the only one here who's actually put together a full subdivision. And he has He had a few comments, but it was basically consistent with, what's been outlined by our staff. Did you have any questions?
I've heard we were gonna get to look at these renderings. No, I have no questions. I'd like to look at it.
They were there.
Well,
You see them?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do have a question. Dan, you had mentioned one of the criteria in the architectural guidelines or standards are that each elevation and public view should be high quality, essentially. The minutes that you linked to the October 2018 meeting where these were approved, they're not very detailed, and so I'm just trying to, and you may not know the answer to this question because none of us were here at that time. But it sounded like the commission at that time did not have that concern. But are you able to tell us whether that particular provision was amended from what you can tell from the minutes and materials?
From the records I found, no, there were later plan developments that were approved after this that had the same
Same language.
in there. I think, some of the architectural guidelines were drafted in mind with commercial facing buildings.
Yeah.
So there's aspects, and you'll note even in the recommendations that I provided, that those more closely would relate to residential than they would commercial. Because there are some commercial ones about like where mechanicals are stored on the roof and hidden and shielded and stuff like that.
And am I correct that none of the plans specified exterior construction materials?
So in the submitted documents, the architectural drawings or plans did in some cases notate it, but the elevations and the renderings do show different materials, but I don't think they're explicitly marked on the renderings, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
They're not, I don't know.
On the arc plans, if you go, I reviewed all of them. Some of them made reference to different like metal roofing. I wrote them out of like spec or metal roof, exterior, horizontal vinyl siding or hardy plank, board and batt, shake siding, and then brick. And then, as proposed, and you'll see they have their own stuff that they've put together for tonight.
and we're gonna see that.
Yes, that's part of their
Yeah, I didn't see
presentation.
any pictures in this and I was.
They're all there.
Yeah, they're all there. I looked through them. There's a
On the pack?
note. Yeah,
I didn't have anything with
Oh, there
pictures.
was-
Anyway, do we have representatives from Waukesha Loop here? And you heard basically our staff's concern, number three, numbers.
Yeah.
And his summary, whatever you're gonna say, after you get through that, we can address those, because that's the. Yes. I don't.
I might have to do that.
I think we're gonna have to do it. I know your agency.
So they'll be presenting it to a.
Okay.
So you can, if you let me know, I'll put it in the meeting.
So this is an old, I guess. Projection unit and the lamps heating up, hopefully it'll get better. Yeah, it certainly sounds solid state. Please go ahead, I can read it, so I think people from the back can.
I'm Jess Shortino with DR Horton. I have with me Jared Williamson and this from the land team. Thank you for your time. We're here as discussed to review and possibly approval for architectural package review. Consistent, what we're going to be presenting is consistent with the previously approved PD. Our goal tonight is to show the homes, elevations, color packages, and entry treatment that can meet the town's expectations for quality, the low country character that was previously discussed, visual variety and long-term value for the town.
So this is just a high level view of the 84 lots, right off of Door Road. This is our entry signage concept, so we are looking with this to create an arrival experience, so this entry monument will be integrated with a landscape ensuring along that entry corridor to the community.
I ask one question.
Yes.
On our last time you presented, which was in February, we talked about your original drawings that had two commercial sites on either side of the entrance. Is that, I don't see it there, so is this just a conceptual thing, but the buildings behind it haven't been determined yet?
Correct, yeah, there's common area.
Thank you, sir. You remember, go ahead.
Okay, so this is the entry monument along with kind of an overhead of where that would be located. Door Road is at the bottom, and then you turn in onto the main entryway and you'll see where that landscaping just continues down to create that arrival experience. These are some of the proposed architectural materials, and to include 30-year architectural shingles, plain belt steel garage doors, hardy plank and or 50-year rated siding and downlighting for our garage entries. So these are our exterior color packages that we're proposing. We selected these to offer a low country and coastal feel, but also keep them neutral enough that they will blend into the natural landscape of the community. Other palettes. Actually, to the next one, this one is, yeah, there we go. So you'll see, as you mentioned, there are a lot of plans that we're proposing. The goal here is to offer diverse product to serve multiple life stages. So you'll see that they're gonna range anywhere from 1,500 to 3,500 square feet, 3 to 5 bedrooms. We also have a mix of 1 and 3 car garages, 1, 2, and 3 to be clear, and also single and 2-story living. Again, to serve multiple life stages in the market.
And one question for your board.
Yes.
One of the things was variety, so that you don't look like postage stamps. May we assume that you're not gonna have 10 of these right beside each other? I mean,
Correct.
so you're going to mix them up, right?
That's
On purpose.
absolutely correct. And some of these smaller square footage plans will be utilized on the smaller lots in order to maintain the 25% coverage as well, and then offer that kind of entry level price point to the community. But yes, we internally have a rule of 5 kind of where you wouldn't have it across the street next door or the diagonal.
So they have to be 5 homes away from each other? Is that what you're saying, or 5 homes?
You have a couple of lots in between, but again, even if you repeated the branding, it would be a different elevation that brought in maybe a larger front porch or added in some board batten detail or shade, something to differentiate.
Sorry for the impression.
I have a question. All these show the garage on the front of the house.
That's correct.
Is that the only design you have? You don't have any with on the side or the rear?
We do, so all of our plans are drawn with the front entry, and then we have options on the actual architectural plan sets that would offer a side entry. That would really be a case by case basis with lot fit, but it would be available if the lot can accommodate.
And they're interior lots. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is our ARIA plan. We have 3 great elevations here. Cali is a single story, one of our most popular plans. It's 1,774 square, or 1,782 in this case, 4-bedroom, 2-bath. The nice front porch. So our booth plans is actually 5-bedroom, single floor. which is great, high ceilings, nice open living areas. Ashley River plan, again, one of those smaller footprint homes, in the case where we would need to maintain that, max impervious coverage and offer, a 3-bedroom option for potential entry level buyers. Value plan. Similar to the Ashland River, have the 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. And then we have some move up options, so now we're gaining square footage here at 23, just over 2,300 square feet. There's a 3 and 4 bedroom option for this one. Forester plan, again, very popular in our Horton series, just over 2,600 square feet.
You got a lot of mirror images here,
What's that?
mirror images.
Yeah. Arbor Oak plan, again, one of our flagships for our Horton Traditions series, 3,100 square feet, 4 bedroom, 3 bath. So a lot of the things, a lot of our plans offer a main level bedroom. Not always the bedroom one or the owner suite, but most of them offer at least a secondary on the main, which we found is really popular. Our Tillman plan, we're just over 30,000 square feet now with a 5-bed, 3.5 bath, several elevations. And then our Glen homes would be, top us out at 3,500 square feet. This is a 5-bed, 4-bath, 3-car garage. Several elevation options.
Well, we have one builder here, James Gardner. Would you weigh in on the materials and the rest? I mean, I recognize them all, but I haven't used them.
Yeah, I mean, they all seem to be in line. What percentage do you anticipate being vinyl versus?
It would be one or the other. What, it would be good, it would be good throughout, so.
Throughout.
No,
For the
yeah,
entire
for the entire community, right?
What's gonna make that determination?
Really just market. As we're getting closer, just really getting close market studies, watching the trends. Affordability versus, the wants and needs of the buyer.
Right. Obviously, that would be nicer for the town if they were to pick Harvey, and hopefully that's what you all will end up going with.
Yeah, that's what we have.
So Jamie, well, that's good. I don't really see, any other questions. Obviously, the small lot coverage houses are meant to be small, but they. From one plan to the next, they all have very similar look to them, but, that's what you have when you have a small lot coverage, right?
Right.
Not only one place to put the door in the garage, so it all seems to make sense to me.
Sure.
We did include a few of those plans, so we can offer the diversity, is some of those are kind of sectioned together. So in order to be able to get the spacing and just like.
And 5, yeah, makes sense.
Kelly?
I don't have any questions. I have some comments, but no questions.
Okay, I wondered if you were okay. She is. Boy.
I guess this could be a question for Dan or for you, but we know the smallest lot is 1/5 of an acre. What is the largest lot here?
My count was, it's 17,000 square feet,
How many?
17,000 square feet. Based on the plat, I don't think it's.
So less than a half an acre.
Yeah.
I don't know how some of those 5-bedroom houses are gonna fit, where are the septic tanks gonna go?
It is all laid out in the engineering drawing, yeah. So we know specifically which lots will accommodate a 5, 4, 3. And that'll be laid out accordingly.
None of the plots.
We are obviously interested in the septic situations that we've never seen lots this small before. Have you perked this whole thing out?
I'm sorry?
We have, okay. This is architectural review, I understand. Okay. That it for the questions, or should we go
I
on?
don't have any more questions.
Kelly comments?
Yes. So. The architectural guidelines, which are part of the PD, the purpose, I'm just gonna read it, the purpose of these standards. Is to promote high quality, low country architecture that's attractive, well designed and built to human scale. Promote, protect the appearance, rural character, and economic value of all development, to encourage creativity in new development. And to foster attractive streetscapes and pedestrian environments, especially in town center, while accommodating safe vehicular movement and access. And I understand that to some extent is addressing the commercial development that. This honestly is not going to be, right? There's a requirement, you'll have commercial or civic lots at the front, but. I would assume that we're not, commercial development probably is not viable in that location, at least today. Nonetheless, that's the purpose for these general standards. I personally don't see. Low country vernacular. Examples in this, there are a couple, I think I saw 3 elevations that have 2nd-story porches, but for the most part. They don't look low country to me. I do like the exterior colors. I think they're great. They are very natural and coastal. I think those are good selection. I share James' concern about vinyl siding. I mean, if we're talking about high quality architecture, frankly, vinyl siding is not what I would consider high quality architecture. My other comment, and it goes to the question I asked Dan earlier about all exterior elevations being equal in quality, appearance, and detail. I didn't see that on most of the elevations. I mean, frankly, there are some side elevations that have, I saw a couple with 0 windows and some with maybe 1 or 2 windows, but I don't see that quality all the way around the building. I think that's.
In terms of that, I think 2 things, on our portrait plans, for the traditions line, which this would be. Some of the windows and details are optional, so that they're not drawn on the main floor plan, but often selected when we choose to build them. 2, in terms of quality on all sides, we would build the hardy on all 4 sides, as opposed to where some communities you see brick or hardy on the front, and then they use vinyl on the sides and rear. So we would continue that material all the way around as well to maintain that quality.
I appreciate that, but there still will be some houses that will be 100% vinyl sided, correct?
Well, if they pick party for the neighborhood, all the houses will be correct. That's what I mean.
Okay, so I misunderstood that. So if you choose hardy plank, everybody's gonna have hardy plank in the neighborhood.
But also that means if you choose vinyl, all the houses are gonna have vinyl, which
Yeah.
is.
That's
correct.
So
So everything
everything in our forma right now is based off of using a raised slab with hardy plank siding.
Is it safe to assume that all these plans and houses are built everywhere else too? It's not, they're not particular or exclusive to this neighborhood, or are these all just for this neighborhood, these house plans?
A little bit of both.
Mhm.
So there, I know we've got a couple of new plans in there that we put in, and then some of them are just houses that we build it. Somebody can't wait to snatch it up because they're great, like Forester, the Harbor Road, those have just been historically.
And that's-
complex.
Nationwide or mostly specific to the Charleston area, these plans are?
Specifically to the, a little bit of both, so a lot of times there's a different rendition in another area, ours are more regional plans, so. And then even then in different divisions and cities, there will be slight plan differences, just based on our ability to kind of manipulate them to fit our buyers.
Just as a point of clarification, the planning commission is reviewing for exterior construction materials and aesthetics, so if there are particular construction materials that y'all would like to see, that is what you're reviewing tonight.
Okay, so that was gonna be my next question.
Yeah,
So
no,
both of
mine
y'all
too.
was, can we make that a requirement that they use hardy plank and not, like I saw an elevation with stone elevation and not vinyl sided, but all hardy plank board back?
It's, yes, I'd say it's staff's interpretation and legal's interpretation of the way it's written is that you are reviewing the exterior construction materials and therefore can approve or deny those materials.
So we're approving materials and design.
Correct, based on the PD and the guidelines.
Thank you.
Have you put any thought into possibly having some of the plants have garage doors with windows in them? That seems to be more of a carriage house look and might lend itself better to low country Charleston style.
We have investigated that, when we have tried it in the past in certain communities. It's kind of an additional cost that our buyers either weren't placing the same value on or, the other issue that we've encountered is the availability and lead times and seating the doors. So with those challenges, we've started to reform the job.
All right, so we're at the present time, wondering if you are okay with committing to Hardy Plank and not vinyl or something else besides vinyl. Obviously, the committee meeting you not want to see a vinyl side committee.
Yes, absolutely can commit to that, but like I said, it's already in place, to do something.
And the other question was, what about the windows? You just answered that partially, but how many sides would you be comfortable offering in terms of the window? We see windows on the front, but you can have windows assured on any other side of the house, like the back.
Well, I believe, I'm not sure if there was a rendering that didn't have a window. on
We haven't
front,
seen the
but
back side.
Yeah.
With the number of bedrooms in the plan, we needed egress, so there's most often going to be windows on the sides and the rear.
We require they have the windows on all four sides. No,
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, I mean, it's within the architectural guidelines, if it's a requirement listed in there in
Yeah.
conformance with it.
Option.
Well, in some cases, it's gonna be a garage.
they can put up a shade if they're.
Well, the
too
garage
close to their
doesn't go
neighbor,
all the way
they're gonna
down.
be too close to their neighbor.
Yeah, I'm sure the garage does go all the way down to the side of the end, so maybe there'd still be a room to pop a window somewhere.
Okay, so you got the siding, you got the windows, what else?
And then do we say that some of them could be architectural shingles, some of them could be metal? Is that what, somebody said metal, I heard, is that you, Dan?
In the arc plans, it referenced to metal roofing, but I don't know. I mean, there's like a reference on like 2 or 3. I didn't see it across all of them. I'll defer to you guys on that.
We did not have that in our plan as an offering,
Yeah, all I saw was.
architectural, the architectural shingles.
Yeah.
And that was, so we were looking at one here that doesn't even show optional windows on either side, the left and the right were both solid. What
Elevation.
plan is that?
Elevation B, Brandon,
Brandon?
elevation B, there's no windows on either side.
On the
That's not bad.
SI elevations, there should be a minimum of 2 windows on each side of the plan. Not sure if they included
Brandon,
those
that's not-
pages,
On the S elevation?
the SI elevations.
Okay, yes, there are on those. I guess not.
What's the difference between the SI and the just different choice packages?
Right, it's just different elevation, just tweaks to the elevation.
So
Sorry.
as drawn, there could be situations where they choose this property and not the SI elevation, not the SI package, and we end up with no windows on either side of the house. That's as laid out, that's a potential.
As laid out, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my concern, that we have these architectural plans that have. 6 or 8 iterations of a house, and by approving those, we're approving all of those iterations. And I don't think all of the iterations meet the architecture.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot, and I think that just needs to be part of our final approvals is to lay out that all sides of the house have like a window, for instance, or something like that. I'd also like to see us lay out specifics where a certain percentages of the houses will have metal roofs, because that was outlined in the options. And I think that's reasonable to think that that's another way to differentiate some houses from others and break up the neighborhood instead of it all being so identical.
Well, what do you think about metal roofs?
I've got one.
Well, it's 150 mile an hour rated, but this is not.
Well, I think that's, what I see about this whole thing is that there is supposed to be a lot of diversity and there, it's mirror images of everything, they all look alike to me. I think anything we can do to add diversity, would be welcome.
Some of the size of the election, I think we would have the diversity, I understand.
Yeah.
The specific one that you mentioned that had the two elevations, I mean, those are ones where you kind of, we added details like the trellis of the garage or. That's when it doesn't have a double front porch elevation at all. So just adding kind of small architectural details to set it apart. And then I would also like to point out, when we're kind of discussing things like metal roofs that have a substantial amount of cost, but depending on the roof. We are looking to position ourselves as offering quality, but also coming into this market being attainable pricing, right? Like your new homes in this market are averaging $950,000. We're looking to come in median $700,000.
Those are.
We are really
all
weighing
custom
the
houses.
options that are above and beyond, like kind of the wants and needs of the buyers, like they want a premium product, there's builders building that. So we can absolutely look at that, but we're also then pushing the price point stuff.
Healthy. Last one was Palmetto Terrace, and then said from the 700s. Now, their entry point was 760, we understand that, and we have another large division going in, and they're gonna start at $800,000. You can't lump those together, which I think would be a better comparator to what you're doing. With the custom built houses that are going up in this community, some of them are. So, where is your price point about going to be?
We're looking to be in the 700s. I mean, you're with our move up product, you're gonna be getting closer to 800, but we're really trying to stay within that price band.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out where the cheapest houses are gonna be. Because
So low
that's-
700, right? Low 700s for the cheapest and high 700s for the most expensive.
I'm gonna take issue with calling that an attainable price.
Yeah, right?
Right, I 100% agree with you. It's just relative to this stuff,
The market,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, so if affordable housing that we typically build is going to be in 300s, but that's Ridgeville and, further out. So,
Sure, but you're also using a lot of the same plants, frankly.
Yeah.
So why is it 700,000 here and 300,000 in Ridgeville? I know land cost is part of that too, but
Right.
That's a significant component.
sure.
Land costs and interior finishes would be different, your options would be different, like being able to add the fireplace and add. A gourmet kitchen, or, there's just a lot of flexibility where people can say, I want to be here, but I just don't need all the frills, and I can get into this community. Or I can spend extra money, and this is what I really want to build to be here. But then the range in square footage, the range in, bed and bath counts, it's kind of a want versus need where people can have that flexibility. When we are offering those plans, they often, in the traditions line, will have additional architectural details. They will have the more windows in the base house, they will have higher ceiling heights, so the plate heights are gonna be higher, windows are taller. The interior finishes are elevated from that, so you start at a higher level there. So while some of those might overlap a little bit, they are very different in terms of if you walk into each house.
I realize it's gonna be price point, if we specify that you have to offer metal roofs, and maybe that no one in the entire subdivision elects that. So I'm sort of wrestling that whole.
Yeah, and the question there, do these home styles, would all of them lend themselves to metal roof? Cause I mean, metal roof doesn't look good on every building.
Yeah.
Right, and I don't believe so. I don't believe that all of them do, and I think Daniel, you mentioned you saw it on maybe a couple of plans.
2 or 3, yeah,
Yeah,
not many.
have to look back to even see which one that is worse.
I mean, metal roofs are low country vernacular, but I don't think metal roofs alone makes these look low country.
Well-
I mean, that's still my primary concern with all of these elevations is they don't look low country to me. I mean, with the main element of low country vernacular is huge porches, wraparound porches. I mean, I'm just not seeing that.
I don't either, but what I'm searching for is a little more diversity. I mean, we're already stuck with a track builder and, we know what we're gonna get. We weren't here to prove that. But, I guess we gotta make That's technically ten.
Yeah, and you've got to do it in a straightforward fashion. Right now, we're sort of like windows on all four sides and hardy plank. The metal roofs,
Yeah, that's not a
specified,
different.
that's
No,
not.
it's just a suggestion of diversity.
And the porch is all around the place, when you got like 2 acre, I mean, 1/5 of an acre lot. Just doesn't work.
Do any of the houses have a porch?
They do, several of them have a porch that's against the front of the facade.
I think it's a little better here.
And that's what. I think part of my issue is they're all slab on grade, right? And so they're not,
It'll be raised.
okay, because the elevations, it looked like it was more like a front patio on grade, where I think, maybe that's part of it, maybe elevating it a foot or two. And getting that extra height. Makes a difference. In terms of what the porches look like, because they just sort of look like front stoops, you know?
Right.
So these are not slab on grade, how high are they?
That's correct. What, do you remember how we're doing this?
They don't look.
It's 18 to 24 inches.
Like a stem wall slab setup, is that what we're doing? Like
Sorry.
a stem wall slab, that's. What you have.
Yeah,
Okay.
So does that mean the elevations aren't accurate?
Yeah, they all look pretty much down on grass.
I think those are stock drawings.
So there's a detail within the plans that would be included with the permit submittal that shows the elevated or the raised slab.
So they all have like air crawl spaces underneath them or something?
You know, raised slab just means that they build it up a little bit. And then they put dirt in, and they put slab on it.
Okay.
So it's harder than the dirt around it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got it.
So these plans are made for other neighborhoods as well that could be slab on grade. These just happen to all be raised slabs, so that the drawings aren't necessarily doing them justice for the height that they will be.
Right.
Okay.
Anybody? Your team, I don't see that. So what we talked about, and it's, I guess, is, you've given us the assurance on Artie, like, we'd like to see that in writing. You okay with the windows?
We're okay with the windows for sure.
I don't think we need it in writing, I think if we're inclined to.
Yeah, I just put it in our-
I understand, I'd like to know. Okay. What, have any questions, please? What specifically would be asked about an architectural low country?
If I may, we did get some we got some comments from Jeff Hardy emailed to me. If you'd like me to read them.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah,
I asked him for him, so, yes, I know.
so he did send them, so he suggested the max 35 feet structures height. On the ARC guidelines are pretty good that are attached to the agenda, no vinyl siding, hardy board or the like. A blend of lap siding, board or batten in some shapes. Strong feeling about sides and rear of home to have same character as front elevation. Home should have a consistent theme of low country architecture, shutters, metal roof, accents, rectangular columns, attractive front doors, porches, have walkways, no loud colors. And home should have offsets to create visual interest on front and sides.
All great points.
Yeah, very good.
I have a question for you, Dan.
Yep.
You know, I feel like there's a lot, if we want to, recommend approval, I think there's a list of things we need to come up with that we're asking for. And do we have to do that, or if we defer and do that by next month, is that?
You could defer in the mass and bring additional information if there's some additional clarification that y'all want. Otherwise, it would be approval with whatever conditions that you have.
So we have to come up with all those conditions here and now.
So the architectural renderings have to be approved before they can come for building permits, so. Unlike a default approval of the planning commission, I don't think that would apply here since it's the particular PD that you're reviewing and the requirements within the PD.
Yeah,
So you're saying we don't have a time frame?
No.
right,
Make
because
a
under the terms of
decision.
PD, y'all are acting as a design review board, so it's a quasi judicial body, not as. You're acting as planning commission, but
Right.
the powers you have are for architectural review in this case, for the
Yes.
terms of PD.
Okay,
One question I had that's outside of this is, last I heard of this neighborhood, there was a stop. Because things weren't as they were meant to be, and we made the changes. I assume that all those changes have been remedied and they've come into compliance with all the things that we came up with in February.
Yes, that's right. They submitted an acceptable site plan, but the final plat has not been approved yet. There's still a few things that they're working through, right?
So in theory, how soon, if we approve this tonight, would y'all try to break ground on these houses, and how much would a deferment?
Where are we? What is our concerns? So August for permit submittal? Okay, August for permit submittal. One of the concerns that we have in regards to timing is the Charleston County requirement to have a single lot engineered plan set. And so we have to build out competitive specifications for a single lot. Say if this lot 2 is gonna have the screen porch and additional windows and the double front porch, and so we have to then send that out, and the engineers have to draw lot 2 plans. They won't allow us to do it like we typically do, which has a standard plan set, and then we mark the options with selected options and cross out anything that's not gonna be built on that lot. So the process is a lot more cumbersome, and so we're really kind of at a point where we're running out of time to actually be able to have it submit. That would be the concern of ours.
So, and hearing that, it sounds to me like many of these are. D.R. Horton decides what. Options are going to go into that house, and somebody buys it as is, what percentage is that versus what percentage is. You sit down with the buyer and they say, we want this window on this side, you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, so you would always plan to have about 3 months of inventory in the field, to really just have.
For walk-up
flow,
buyer,
even
yeah.
for buyers that might come in and they need to close soon. However, we always, have the opportunity to pre-sell and have the buyer come in, select their options, select their lot. And, it's always good to have, I mean, at least 15% of the pre-sales. But as, you know, as we move through the community, we start to really learn our buyers and see if there are specific things they really want and need. And so pretty good at identifying what to put in the homes.
That's fine.
I didn't understand what you said about Charleston County permits, like why are you running out of time? I didn't follow that.
Instead of stamping them all ahead of time. As an engineer, they have to approve them one by one based on what options are picked. So an engineer has to look at every single plan for every single lot, not just approve the Brandon ones and approve the Aaliyah ones, and then they can build as many as they want.
Yeah, but, yeah, I guess, I mean, that's,
Just adds a degree of time.
yeah, but if you were a custom home builder, that's how you have to do it, right? I mean, I don't know. But why are you running out of time? I didn't understand that comment.
So if basically, we will move forward with actually selecting homes for specific lots to submit to the engineer to draw the plans until we know exactly what the guidelines would be
Right,
from this team. So if it's, you know, a number of windows on each side, then we would need to know that so we can also address that if it needs to be. That way we do it in one turn.
right.
And how many things are we really? I mean, are we thinking about it? Is it more than we think is feasible to add in our time that we have to? I guess is my question. I was all night here, but yeah, I was
Another question for y'all, are you phasing the subdivision?
The 84 lots is one phase.
Okay, that's right.
Okay, Catherine, I talked with. Jeff, and he'd given me this stuff, and I told him we're providing to send them in. I'm glad you did. Would you run through that list again, because I'm studying here at Harding Planning Windows right now. What else we got?
With some variants, front doors, and some shutters.
And just for a point of clarification, while she's pulling that up, The PD outlines that staff would review and approve the sign, not planning commission, so y'all are strictly looking at the exterior construction materials for the buildings. Additionally, there were some lights proposed. There are lighting requirements in plan development that must be met for all buildings. One of those, just for the record, that no floodlights are permitted for all buildings. So there's some other stuff with the sign lighting that will be reviewed at final plat as well.
Where are the lights, like that community, that you dealt with those. Hey,
Would you like me to start at the top? So the maximum. The max 35-foot structure height is what he recommended.
what we got?
I think only 32.
Yeah.
The Allendale architectural guidelines are pretty good that are attached to the agenda. So you did get the no vinyl siding.
Yep.
Hardy board or the like, a blend of lap siding, board and batten in some
Can you
shapes.
explain that, James?
Well, in the plan, you'll see some of the versions, if you had this in front of you, you'd be able to see better. It appears that some, for instance, the scaling, it's hard to see in the small, but it appears that these are shapes above that,
Right.
right? So this has regular lap siding on the entire house, except these two gables are shaped. Some of them have gables that are board and batten. I saw, you remember which one? There's pictures are pretty small, and I'm just in one context.
That's like a Fiona's brand.
Right.
Yeah, so oftentimes if you have three elevations of a plan, we'll look at the border bats on one of them, operate the bat details or the color.
Keep up the garage, that board and batten up there.
Another one would offer.
So, yeah, so they have it, but most houses still have horizontal siding on the majority of them, and these are just more of an accent, and I wonder if Jeff's intent was to have more of a variance in the body of the house versus just the accent parts, and I'm not sure
Well,
how
I mean,
practical that is.
why don't we take his? I think we all like with Jeff's recommendations, why don't we make that a requirement? Why don't we talk about windows on all four sides?
Well, that's the variation in sizes, right?
I think that if I understand where he was coming from, he probably meant more than just an accent difference, but be an entire majority, the body of the house being a different siding configuration in occasions.
Just for variety.
Yeah, it depends on the size of the house.
And then you'll get to review those when they come.
He also had a strong feeling about the sides and rear of home to have the same character as front elevation.
I wish you'd gotten that.
That's
And
what
then-
The windows.
that's what he's talking about.
And then home should have consistent theme of low country architecture, which was also discussed. The shutters, metal roof accents, rectangular columns, attractive front doors, porches, and tabby walkways. No loud colors, and then home should have offsets to create visual interest on front and sides.
Well, you know about the colors, they look fine. Now, did you see anything on offsets?
Yeah, that would mean that the.
Yeah,
garages are three
I mean,
sides.
if you see this one right here, this rectangle is further out and the garage rectangle is set back a little bit, that's what he's saying. And it looks like, for instance, this is the area that has some rectangular columns, what size are those, do you all know? Are those 8x8s or 6x6? 8x8, yeah, I think that would probably qualify for what he's asking for there.
I think out of all of them, I think the azalea is probably closest
Low
to,
country is,
yeah. The one with the second story porch elevation.
So they have shutters all around.
there's,
No.
a lot of the plans show some elevations with and some elevations without shutters, it looks like it's had an upgrade, but
It's not an upgrade, typically our elevations would have the shutters on them. Some of our more recent submittals that were in municipalities that required shutters to be operable. And so the alternative was to remove the shutters, and so that's why you're seeing some elevations that don't have shutters, but we can absolutely add them.
so we could add in there as all houses and shutters. At least in the front, I
At
see.
least on front,
Yeah.
for sure.
Is it most typical to have them on the front only in your plans?
Dan,
Is it most typically to have
it's kind of a
shutters
question.
on the front only or on all sides? Yeah.
Okay, so we
A
got.
question for both of y'all, with the lot sizes, you know, and the setbacks. Are we gonna have all these houses with the front door the same distance from the road, or is it possible to vary the house
Yeah.
setback on the lot?
I think the plan development references breaking the rhythm. And ensuring that each houses are kind of in lots or designed in such a way to where you could do that. So that would be then, I don't.
At
know
what
if that's a
stage does that come up as a
particular-
question, because it's not probably part of the architectural, is that something that we see again?
Part of the site plan review.
Yeah.
So I think, well, we can't make that a requirement at this point, but we can make
Right.
it with the site plan review.
No, I think we could, I mean,
Yeah.
that goes to design, I mean, but I think the challenge is gonna be, Dan's gonna be looking at one zoning permit for one house, and. Just having to keep track of, well, what did they do on the adjacent lots and, you know.
But we're looking on this on the builder, that they prove to us that it's not. Duplicitous
Yeah,
amongst the other
but
houses.
there's some
Yeah.
sort of variation.
So you wanna go down the road, and the front doors are the same place on
Yeah.
each house.
And that would be our intent for sure, and I think if you, when you're viewing the overall site plan, you'll really get to feel for what the flexibility will be on that. Because the drain fields, the location of the drain fields will be a little bit prohibitive. But the way they're drawn, I mean, we do have some flexibility at the back.
I don't think that anything that we're asking in that regard are something that you wouldn't want to achieve, I mean. No offense to your business model, but tract houses aren't everybody's favorite thing aesthetically, and I'm sure that you as a builder try to. Get away from that cookie cutter as much as you can within the realm of what you have, so it makes sense.
All right, so far we got hardy plank windows on all sides, vary the siding, vary the siding periodically. We've got front shutters. We've got offsets on the front
From distance from the street.
and setbacks on the front doors.
Well, basically. The siding of the home is to be buried on each lot.
Yeah.
As much as possible, yeah.
That's what I said.
Yes.
I think we can take Jeff's comments and just add the ones that he's missing.
I've got 3 of Jeff's comments. 4 of Jeff's comments that we already had.
Right.
We've got, the windows we added on all sides. What about the offsets in the front? Did he say that?
Yeah, you mean the building itself?
Yeah, it sounds.
Yeah, it's already inside those elevations, I've noticed.
All right,
You typically do all of the plans, as you can tell, have some variations in distance from street, but across the face.
Sorry?
The offsets, some bits of each house are a little closer to the street than others on all the plans, there's some that are straight across the front, same depth.
Yeah, it's really community driven, but when we have the opportunity, we do offset them, the businesses.
So I think you're misunderstanding, you're talking about the house placement back from the street,
Oh,
right?
sorry.
I'm talking about the face of the house, the front. Some just, do all of them have, I know some of them have an offset here and there, do all of them have that built into the plan?
Yes.
Okay, so that was covered, Jeff's point.
Yeah, but some of them, the garage is forward. Like the garage should be behind the front facade. of the house, in my opinion. Again, going back to
Be on the side.
well, yeah, or in a detached garage.
I think most of the time, if you do see the garage is protruding from the front, they'll have usually a porch that comes out, that's proud of the garage.
Yeah, I'm seeing, that's mostly what I'm seeing, did you, I guess that one might be sticking out a little bit, maybe the booth has a little bit of a forward.
We'll get you.
leaning
repeated
front.
record. Yeah, but I think.
And then Galen maybe has a little bit.
Dan, let me ask you a question, so
Yes.
they'll need to come back with final plat, was that from the planning commission or just staff?
That would be step.
That would be staff, so we won't see this
No,
after tonight in this group.
okay.
unless you start that.
Well, actually, that's not true. There are some things in here that would have to come back, like dumpster location, if y'all end up doing that. But I think that's pretty much it. Everything else is reviewed and stuff.
And
Dumpster location, more information.
So in the
During
plane,
construction, or something?
in the plane development on page 8, garbage disposal dumpsters will be provided for each business or grouping of businesses. So if there's commercial use. That has to be approved by the planning commission, its location, but
I mean,
I can't say.
But I don't
ever.
think that any commercial stuff's gonna show up here, I think it's gonna be a side production.
Right.
But we did have a requirement of garbage pickup service to be part of the thing, I think I remember, do we put that on there, or we've just been doing that recently?
I'm looking
I
at
think
the
that's today's thing, I'm
conditions
just
of
wondering.
approval. I don't recall that. being
We've just
their
been doing that
conditions.
more recently.
yeah, I don't think that's part of, I don't think that's.
Yeah, number 10, the conditions of approval to decrease impact on local solid waste.
Oh,
The applicant has agreed that the POA will establish regular solid waste pickup.
okay.
Oh, great.
That's what I was saying.
Well, my concern with approving it tonight with all these conditions is that puts a lot of pressure on Dan to approve plans based on some fairly subjective standards. I would feel more comfortable approving plans that Dan can look at and say, yes, this meets what the planning commission approved. That's just my opinion.
How would that work?
Yeah, how about them, we're asking.
Revise and address all these comments. And not include 8 iterations of a plan. You know, they can have 15 different plans,
But
but
they all have to meet these certain conditions.
yes, and not have 6 versions of one plan. Like
Right.
this is the plan
I wonder if
and
there's,
do
yeah,
create that variation through some of the things you mentioned, architectural details or trellises over the garage or different. I
alright.
I don't know.
I
That's
don't know what I'd be looking for. I'm okay with this list, as long as we make them as
And
part conditions.
And I guess it really comes down to the stand okay with the list, right? It seems to be the one, once it's out of our hands, going over all those things.
Yep, that's what I just sort of,
What do you think?
sort of what you.
Yeah. You cool?
I'll defer to the planning commission's discretion. I will be reviewing every single one of these homes anyway, so. If there's already a predetermined layout or look of them, that'll make it simpler for my review to confirm, hey, this has been approved by the planning commission, or while I'm reviewing it, I'll just add that criteria into what they're submitting to me. To just check it off to make sure it all meets. Correct, yeah, either or, however y'all decide on going with it is fine with me.
And we had made mention of putting the responsibility on the builder to prove to you that it's not duplicitous and legal counsel, how best to phrase that if that's allowed to be asked for, and if so, is that something that you would appreciate and think would be
For
helpful?
me, duplicitous or duplicate.
Duplicated
Yeah, we're not gonna do some of that, okay?
I'm not trying to, I'm probably using the wrong word, but just to prove to us that they haven't done the same thing. Right, or, you know, or that there's a good mix, et cetera, what else we might expect.
They're meeting this requirement, says variation of detail, form and siding shall be used for.
I'm okay with Dan figuring that out.
If he thinks that the workload's not gonna be too intense.
Are you okay with that?
The simpler the better sometimes when reviewing a lot of these projects and taking into account all the other things that staff do look at, so. I will default to your discretion, but yeah, so staff, out of. Speed and efficiency for review and concern for review, we do try to take as much time as we can, which each zoning permit to ensure all their proper criteria are met. The more criteria you add in, it can sometimes lead to a mistake.
All right, I went through the list, you want me to do it again? Let me make those as part of our acceptance dependent on following these additional guidance. Like the hardy plank, because it goes on all 4 sides and the setbacks, the front doors or front of the house being offset from each other and front shutters and that sort of thing.
Again, procedurally, can we have this list be written down
And we have to approve the minutes
and then
make sure that they're right when the minutes come out.
And provided by legal counsel as well, Mr. Hardy's commentary will be included as part, like that exact email that I read will be put into the meeting minutes.
And I get the list too.
And my question was though, as he reads the list, can we just then, in part of whoever makes the motion, reference that list and not have to repeat it word for word because he's in that on record?
Yeah, the list should be a part, whatever conditions y'all are adding onto for the approval, that should be a part of the motion itself. So whether Mr. Chair wants to make the motion or whether he wants to read the
Well, we
list.
added some things to what Jim said, so
Right.
we gotta make sure that we have.
Once the list is read and on record, can we just in the motion reference the list?
Yes, the person who makes the
Yes.
motion should read the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, the motion should contain the list.
Okay.
I would recommend, you could do it that way, but
Explicitly, yeah.
for clear purposes, I would read the list
Understand.
from the motion.
Yep. So one thing I would say is that. The one way this doesn't really conform to the architectural guidelines is. Are we in agreement, it really doesn't have a low country feel? Are we willing to live with that?
This is the plan development ordinance, this is
Yeah.
the law, right? We're not architects, right, but I mean, we've all lived here, we can all look at it and say, this isn't low country, I don't think it meets the architectural standards, so I'm not.
Someone like to define low country, I'll bet you,
Yeah, that's
and you,
subjective.
and you and me are all separate, all different. How are we gonna do that?
There is a. Low country vernacular it does have to do with materials, I think that we've got materials, we've already claimed shutters, there's on garages. The biggest thing for me is porches. I mean, I don't. I mean, they do also have front porches, again, they look kind of like stoops to me, and that has to do with the fact that it's an elevated slab and not a. Not with a crawl space underneath it.
They're not elevated to the point where they're gonna need a handle, that would make them look a lot more from the porch.
Yeah, I mean, and even without a handrail, I don't have a handrail on my front porch, but there's still 3 steps to get up to it, and it just defines it as. I don't know, porches, I think, are the critical element that I feel is missing from.
Well, okay, now we got down to something concrete, to saying low country, I just feel uncomfortable with that. So, because we can't find it. I know what I like.
Look at traditional neighborhoods around here, older McClellanville.
You need an oak tree.
I could go down to Ion and take a look at the neighborhood that's low country, but.
Well, that's true, that is low country vernacular.
Yeah, plus houses.
Well, I know that, but McClellanville isn't, McClellanville is low country vernacular, some of the older houses and all.
Alright, so where are we on porches?
We don't have room for them in this stuff.
Well, in the 50-acre lot, we cannot have huge porches, we already went through that. We can for some of the larger lots, but a larger lot is about permanent. You have anything to add on porches you can help us out here?
We agree, I mean, we love the double front porches, it adds a lot of costs, so we can find the buyers, but Harbor Oak, I mentioned before, it's a very popular plan, and we've been able to actually offer it. We do have buyers that are willing to pay $15,000 to $20,000 for that as the price tag, and others that just love the layout and are unwilling to pay for that. And so what we try to do is strategize on, like our premium lots, who is the buyer that's gonna pay for this lot, or are they willing to take this one, maybe out of the front porch, but we always try to mix in those elevations to add diversification to the streetscape and really offer some character, just blending in some of the ones that have maybe less detail with the ones that do. But just also keeping in mind, we can't go out and build 84 houses with double front porches, the things because of the cost.
Sure.
And also buyer, we
Yeah.
build it.
Understood, I mean, I'm not saying double front porches, I mean, I think you can have a 1-story house with a great front porch, I'm just not seeing it.
So I think one of our constraints too is the lot,
Size.
the impervious coverage. And the size of the lots, in terms of space within the setback.
Sure, but we just come up with that, right? I mean, these are parameters that the builder knew when they bought this property, right? They didn't have to put 84 lots in. They could have had bigger lots and had more front porches or done more things to, hit this low country vernacular architecture.
All right, so we've got Arctic length windows on all sides, variations in the siding. We've got offsets on the front, setbacks of the front door or front of the house. We have front shutters, and we're sort of on, and we specify some double front porches on your larger units or something like that, so that there's houses that look different than everything else.
Yeah.
We know on the outside, which is most of these really small lots, you're not gonna have it from just across the street from them on the inside of your larger lots.
Yeah, absolutely, we plan to integrate those double front porches, Ashland River has a great one, Stillman has a great elevation with the double front, the Harbor Rose has one as well. So yes, we absolutely aim to integrate those into the rest.
Are you talking about a percentage?
Yes,
Let's see this
not a percentage.
Yeah. I think that's
The
very-
other thing is we state our architectural requirements that the quality has to go around the whole house. So you got an opportunity for a rear porch. You know,
Is that?
that makes it a little more low country.
Did you see the other something? I'm on the C front elevations on the face of that, Brendan, do a lot of them have rear porches already?
A lot of them, all of the plans have an option for an
Option,
street
yeah.
porch or covered porch, those types of things where the buyer would choose.
So double front porches or a rear porch? Is that what we're talking about?
Well. What we're trying to do is we put some requirements so that they conform to what the architectural standards that are already part of our.
Yeah, which I listed a bunch of requirements.
And I'm not sure how to. Put it there, but if we put it in the minutes and our requirements, then Dan can look at it when they come through and. You know,
Well, it's double front porches are having a rear porch, you can specify a percentage.
One point of clarification, so. When I said that having a list of requirements to be met during my review is helpful, the percentage of porch versus non-porch or things like that is very discretionary. So that's difficult. So as far as like exterior construction materials go, if you were to say these are the materials that we would like to see, it's very simple for staff to do. As far as breaking up porches and things like that, that would require an elevation approval by this body that we could review. So I just want to make sure I clarify that now before a motion's made to incorporate multiple different factors that would then create a longer review timeline for myself and staff.
So that would be porches.
And given that you're not reviewing all 84 houses at once, it's gonna be a very hard percentage to figure out in terms of, if the first 30 houses didn't have a porch. And the requirement was 50, that means that the second half of all that, whatever it was, that would be tricky. I
you'd
think
have to
for you
figure right
especially,
out, you know.
that would be very difficult, I think.
I agree, and that's why it's simpler to have, you've got 12 house plans. Revise them to show, to address all these concerns and meet the guidelines and not have. Six or 8 elevations of each of the plans, and then Dan can say, okay, this is an azalea plant, here's what planning commission approved, does it look like?
Yeah.
These one of these two elevations.
But the flip side of that point is that they provide X number of house properties plus 4 different iterations of each one to allow for more variation amongst the things, which we would be killing.
Yeah.
We did
I
that,
get
so,
that.
yeah.
All right, I think we've got a list here, and the only place we're hung up where we'd be giving you trouble is, you can figure out hardy planting offsets from the streets and variations and sidings and shutters and windows, that's easy. I think, but porches would give you troubles.
Well, so I'll just reference the architectural guidelines again, where it does mention where and how materials are outlined and how they meet the requirements listed in the architectural guidelines. So that's why it's easier per the guidelines that have been submitted and approved for this plan development. That it prescribes on how that can be reviewed. Now porches and those aesthetics are like roof pitch, gables, things of that nature. That's a little bit more of a technical realm. That would be more difficult at a larger level to ensure that across all 84 lots, that percentage is met. It would be, it's feasible, but it would take a considerable amount of time.
Resources.
Percentages happen.
And let me ask you a question of the builder. In a typical neighborhood with these types of plans, what percentage of people choose these porches? And maybe it's something that will work itself out if it's in the 50s, you know what I mean?
Right,
Do you know that number?
sales agents love the double front porches, they would put them on every lot.
Right.
Percentage,
That's probably how I think you come off with but
yes, I mean, they're very popular, so. Oftentimes we will offer a blend, right, on the inventory homes. But when that buyer comes in and they're willing to wait to get exactly what they want, they're choosing a double front porch, so. I think too, in that regard, if we do encounter that buyer, I mean, at this price point, you have a lot more pre-sales. than you would if the affordable housing grant 400,000, right? If there's nothing to choose, it's the Cali or the Cali. Here, it's a different buyer profile, and so we will see a lot more of those pre-sales and the buyers making those decisions. So a percentage would be on our side for to track as well.
Would you be okay with a double front porch or a back porch?
On every house.
Well, we can't assign a percentage because it's gonna make it difficult for our planner. But we'd like to see a significant portion of these for out there. Back porches seem easier to do those little front porches.
But the flip side of that coin is that we talk a lot about affordable housing, not that these are gonna be affordable, but the more apartments we put like that, the less affordability they have. So that's, I mean, I hear you, and then from the other side, I don't know. I'm not as hung up on the porch for this.
Well, we're trying to work this into the low countries.
I know.
Alright.
Yeah, and that's.
I'm with Dave on that, I don't know exactly how to define what low country looks like, I think it's really subjective.
Well, we know it's not.
I will say that in some of these plans that we have offered around town with the Hardy Plank and the Inspiration series. They look great, you know, the Hardy Plank really pops, like just using those colors that are really neutral but bright. That's where we kind of go coastal low country feel. And again, you know, we're using some variations with the trellises of the garage or the front porch on some, just making those tiny details that overall on a streetscape can make a big difference. So. A little bit there.
See that?
That's like.
Yeah.
And with the setbacks, you wanted to say for the front doors or the front of the house?
Both, I mean, we.
The front
we
most
want the
portion.
houses,
I know what you want.
offset.
You want to say offset to the doors and the
I
house?
think the frontmost portion of
There's,
the plan.
there's the architectural setback of the front of the
Yeah.
facade, and then there's the site location. Within the
Yeah.
lot.
So front doors.
Needs to be front, should not, yeah.
Okay.
They're two different.
I don't think the front door is helpful in any one discussion, because you're talking about the distance at the frontmost portion of the
We
building.
just don't want
So
some
front
other
of
having
the house. Front of the house. Gotcha.
Yeah, front of.
All right, Hardy Plank windows on the sides, variation, siding variation, black stuff. The front shutters, offsets on the front of the house and setbacks to the front of the house, not the front door.
And I think we need to give some more.
Area
variation
location
to
of
that.
the house within the prescribed setbacks, you know? I mean, that's one way to describe it, I don't know if it's a good way to describe
Well, the
it.
setback sounds good.
We might want to get more detail in the variation of the siding type. Because it could be said now that that's what you want.
So that's already included in this comment.
Yeah, it is.
Right, I just wonder how specific we should make it, because it could be said that these already have variation in siding, because the
They
gables are
don't
like
have to do anything, but if they don't have it, then.
But what I think Jeff was going at, I think the intent of his comment was that the entire face of the house, for instance, might be board and batten and not just the gables different. Do you understand what I'm saying? The difference?
Did you provide that? You don't provide the board mat for a whole house. do
We
you?
do have, another, this one for that elevation, it might be on the Brandon.
I wonder if we can pull them up on the screen where everybody can see them, because I'm able to see this right now. And it's really small. Sorry, you wouldn't mind.
I'll take those, but remember we have other stuff on this.
Can't see nothing, that's what I'm trying to, Cali doing. Yeah, like the Cali, for instance, if we get pull up that Cali.
Something.
Okay.
Yeah, they're doing the same thing.
You can spell that and bother with it. But here you are, with percentage, I think very small down down so far.
So.
If we pull up the Cali,
Variability. Then we.
I just wish that we knew exactly what Jeff was alluding to with the, you could go back and if you would. Right there, see that Cali has the board and batten above the garage, everything else on the front is,
Got the concept, but.
but I wonder if he meant. He wants to see more in terms of the entire structure being something different.
Different from I mean, that wasn't my understanding.
Yeah, that's not, but everybody else in that,
Is there an example of one that's,
She found one here, what is this called?
Brandon Elevation D is.
Was that, is that on the selection? Brandon D,
That's
Oh,
all right.
it's hard to see.
It's the only-
so that's all board of Benton. But we don't have any guarantee that there will be a lot of that, because it's just whatever people pick, right?
Right.
Unless we actually.
Well, what about the spec houses? We could require someone to spec out.
Yeah, and I will say, when that, we could have the elevations, again, it's popular, so. It's really bad.
Are there any with more shape than just the gables already in
The
your?
shape would really stick to the
Yeah,
accents, yeah,
Probably makes more sense.
right.
I mean, it might be that his comments were already covered in just the fact that some of them have accents. That's how I got. Okay. All right, we can leave that one. Just, do we need to say it since some of them do? Yeah.
The very from the side, it was okay.
Let's leave that in.
Word that, okay. All right. I would like to move for that. We gotta get this thing off the dime, so let's go to order, vote it down. I'd like to move for approval of this request. With modification as specified, including you've got his list.
I will read it in its entirety. Again.
I think I got it, but go ahead.
And staff.
So the max 35-foot structures height,
No,
no, not that one.
That was a good point, because we already did that time.
So the no vinyl siding, party board, or the light,
we've got that.
okay, strong feelings about sides and rear of home. To
Yeah,
have
that's that.
home should have a consistent theme of low country architecture, shutters, metal roof accents. Rectangular columns, attractive front doors, porches, and tabby walkways.
Like now,
Front shutters, we've got the offsets, we've got the setbacks.
And a lot of drawings had glass in the front doors. That's gonna be part of them.
I'm just thinking about things that are on this list that he didn't put on. I'm trying to get my stuff on, I don't get his. Did we get, is setbacks for the front of the house on this
So we
list?
said homes should have offsets to create visual interest on front and side.
that's good enough, that's good.
Architectural offsets.
I don't see any side
We've got
offset.
offsets on here. So that's what he said, so that's fine.
He's
Siding,
he said
siding offsets also be a second. That's
Siding's very
architectural offset, but we're also talking about
Site
house siding on the lines. Yeah.
Could you add slight offsets?
Variety in the, yeah, siding.
Sighting, not siding, it doesn't mean siding. Site layout,
Place of
yeah, like layout,
Yeah.
layout variation would probably be a better.
Yeah, that works.
So how would you reorder that? You want me to do it?
So it sounds like the ones that you're adding from. The list that you have is that. Cause I don't have the exact list in front of me, the ones that you're adding to it is to have for the low country architecture that he was defining.
The front shutters,
Shutters, metal roof accents, rectangular columns, attractive front doors, porches, tabby walkways. Y'all also discussed having the garage doors with windows. And you also.
I don't
discussed-
think we can inquire on that, no, we were having windows on all four sides, so we haven't said anything about the garage door.
Well, I
Yes,
mentioned it, but. I don't know how much we need to push it, because again, we're just pushing it to be less affordable, if we do that, Not to throw another peek into these, but these eyebrows over the garage could be an area where we could incorporate some adjustment metal. That would be an inexpensive place to put metal. And I'm sure that some of the houses job done have had that at some point. Is that a safe guess? These are eyebrows over the garage, for instance, being metal instead of shingles on some of them.
I'm not sure which plans show a metal. I've incorporated that in some ways.
Most of the plants have a little eyebrow here and there.
And how would we put that on this list?
I don't know how we would say it. I mean, all these things are just in leading to being more low country, I guess.
We can say it's windows on all four sides, and we can say height, flank, and all the rest of it. You can't say like shutters on, then who's gonna start doing percentages?
Yeah. Just a thought, maybe it sounds.
With metal accents.
Yeah.
Shutters on all four sides, it's easy to remember, it's either there. or-
Yeah. I think we were just shutters on the front though.
No, but we all four. On the front, excuse me, on
Yeah.
the front.
And then, but windows on the four sides, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Our list match that.
I would be very clear with the motion since there was a lot of back and forth of going it through it line by line of saying, I move. To approve the architecture board tonight, however the planning commission would like to go and state word for word exactly item 1, item 2, item 3, item
And we're
4.
gonna go through each one of those items right now.
Yes, please.
I move to approve the submittal with amendments as follows. That the houses be shingled and hardy plank. Number 1, all sides. That there be windows on all four sides. That there be variation of the siding such as the boardroom back. That there be front shutters. That there be offsets on the front of the house and a setback on the front of the houses. And that's where I am.
You said it's
Shingle down about the tabby siding box.
Tabby walkways.
We hadn't talked about that. You're the permeable person, what do you think?
Before we start making discussions on that, there needs to be a second. There's a motion on the floor and then.
You said shingle, right before we said single or metal roofs.
Should he withdraw the motion so they can talk more? Is that procedurally correct? And not really.
Yes, because if you're still going to be ironing out, because we were listening
I
out.
want to say single roofs, you should say single or metal roofs, because remember we talked about.
I didn't
Make sure that we don't want them saying metal roofs.
I didn't say shingles, but
Oh, I said, oh, you meant, you said shakes.
sometimes about siding.
Yeah, we said shingled and hardy. I missed that.
Shingle or metal roofs, okay, I got that. Is there anything else? Cause I can go through this list again, I got shingles and metal. Anything else? You want me to go through that list again?
Yes.
Yes, so it would be the brand new motion.
There's the original motion.
Would you also do it slowly and clearly so I can write out all of the details?
And being that it's already been the motion made, does that motion have to be rescinded before you can make
So
it?
we already
I think
withdrawn.
it was withdrawn, but yeah, for the record, let's just withdraw that previous motion and then restate the motion.
I would like to withdraw a motion. All in favor? Whatever.
Yeah.
Let me try this again. Wait, because I go along. On the drive. I move for approval of the architectural package with the following amendments. 1, that there be hardy plank on all four sides of the house. That there be windows on all four sides of the house. That there be shingles or metal roofs as an option. That there be a variation of the siding with siding.
No, so this is side.
Okay.
This is side shake and the.
Get the motion out.
And variation of the siding, shake
And board and batten and last side.
okay, board batten and black siding. And shake. Are you okay to see it? Okay,
You got all three sides, Texas side and shake it.
Or the back of shape
And
and
last. And last side.
that there be front shutters. That there be offsets on the front of the house. That there be a setbacks of the front of the houses, variation in setbacks of the front of the houses from the side of the trees, the side of the streets. And that's what I got. And we were reports was.
We
We
didn't know how to say it.
we didn't know how to say porches front and rear. Wait a minute, I've got this motion sitting out there, and we didn't do anything on tabby sidewalks.
And also, were there any?
I'll second the motion. Okay.
Yeah, let's finish the motion and then we can discuss.
Okay.
And then we can make any amendments. we'll
Yes.
amend.
Okay, that's a good call. And now it's discussion time, or we have to vote first?
I believe the second was made, now we
Second was
discuss.
So one other thing I just wanted to not miss, is there any staff recommendations that we're missing that you wanted to hear? That's something that we usually covered, and we didn't.
One moment. So the key recommendation that staff made if approval is granted, that the applicant be required to demonstrate that they can feasibly meet the requirements in not one singular floor plan, but throughout multiple layouts with multiple materials that flow with the low country architecture and promote the rural character as well as economic value of the development. So essentially, what y'all have proposed is breaking up materials, designs, facades, different planes of the structures. The majority of the materials and kind of what y'all have covered are within the requirements of the architectural guidelines.
So far, we're doing all right.
So far, we're keeping in line with what you had proposed.
Well, let me ask this question. Your recommendation was that the applicant be required to demonstrate they can feasibly achieve the necessary design in not one singular floor plan. What did you have in mind? You mean in this submittal or in their zoning permits?
In either or, so the applicant be able to demonstrate that they have multiple configurations of, let's say, the Brandon with these requirements, and it's not just one floor plan and design across all the Brandons and they change and look different. Because they have multiple different styles and they just need to switch them around.
So wouldn't that necessitate them submitting more than one zoning permit application at a time so that you can compare that? Because they submit a Brandon for lot 2, and then they get to lot 7 and do another Brandon. And they're like, oh, well, the buyer wants it to look like the one on lot 2. I mean,
Yeah,
how do we ensure that that variation actually happens when we're approving
for sure.
all of these different iterations? That's my concern.
There is a requirement, and this is in the lot design, it says 8 lots can't, it says. Towards the end, there should be variation lot sizes along the street, identical lot width shall not be repeated for more than 8 lots without a break in rhythm. It's safe to assume that if there's variation in 8 lots as far as design, that 8 structures should also be designed in different rhythm. Staff's interpretation of that, but I do hear your concern and likewise. At some point, with these developments, they all kind of blend together when reviewing them. So it's important to ensure that we have a lot count and that lot count continues, like lot 38 is this version of the Brandon. Lot X is this version, and we're able to map it out and see, but that would turn into a bit of a game of RuneScape.
We can absolutely work with you on that. We've done it in the past to make it easier on our viewers, because we get a lot on their plate. Where we can basically create a site plan exhibit, and as we specify the homes for each lot, we would update that exhibit, so you would have it in advance of the individual permits coming in. And it'll have, whatever information you want, as like the plan, elevation, the swing, and maybe the exterior package. And then that way you can really visualize like the spacing and
I think that would really be helpful. I think, yeah.
that's not a problem.
And you feel confident that as written, you've got enough teeth to enforce the things that you need to enforce in terms of multiple houses of the same style being put together?
I believe so, yes.
Not to say that you would, but just.
Okay. So the point is, we're okay.
We're in line with staff recommendation.
Another question though, does your motion include Jeff's comments also, or did you repeat? You think
I
you repeated them all?
repeated them.
Yeah.
Think so?
Yeah.
Alright.
And the last question, you had.
His motion only included what.
Yeah.
And then you had mentioned Tabby at the last minute, which you could go on as an amendment to your motion.
I guess so, but do we wanna do that?
On every house.
Point of clarification really quickly, so you had mentioned about in line with staff's recommendation, so Kelly kind of touched on this too. Staff recommended that the applicant be able to demonstrate how they can feasibly do this, whether that's at my review or at this review. So that's up to y'all, if y'all feel comfortable with staff then going forward with these conditions and doing that, or I take no offense to it if y'all want to make sure that they're done as according to what you've approved. That's your discretion as your approval body.
If we were to add an amendment to request those site, what do you call those things where you showed the houses around site layout?
Site exhibit,
Site exhibit.
yeah.
If we were to request a site exhibit to be turned in with each plan.
Yeah, so essentially, ideally for us, like I said, we would set up, about 3 months worth of inventory. And also, we'll have to stay ahead of the engineering plans for Charleston County, as I, mentioned earlier. So we would be able to kind of give you an exhibit for the next few months to start planning reviews in advance. So we can kind of stay at least 3 months ahead of it with the layout.
And if we put that in as one of, as an amendment to this motion, that would give you coverage and assurance that that would come.
Okay, give me the wording for that.
But you can make it as I move to
Okay,
amend the
we'll
motion
go
with.
for this motion and then we'll do the amendment.
No, the amendment goes on as part, and then we vote all as once.
Yeah.
Okay.
I move to amend the motion to require the site exhibit as described by the applicant. That is provided to staff with every submittal that updates the site plan to show. Which house plan, which elevation and which exterior package and the location of the building on each lot.
Second.
All in favor?
Well, we don't vote until it's all done. being amended. Oh,
Vote
we're-
on the amendment.
Okay,
and then
I'm
you
sorry.
vote On the
Yeah,
motion as
gotta-
amended.
I got you.
voting now on the amendment.
And then we vote on the
Then we
whole,
go to the-
that makes sense, correct. So, sorry. David,
So you're
all
gonna
second,
Who said there was motion? You made the motion, it was seconded.
okay. Now we say, oh,
Does anybody else have anything else to say about that?
we have to vote on it.
Yeah.
You
Okay,
can discuss the
I'm
amendment.
not cutting off discussion,
Right.
tell everybody
sorry,
that.
yeah, I'm ready to vote, sorry about that.
on your plan.
On the, no, just the amendment, yes, I'm ready.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the amendment.
So that amendment got
Now,
added to
the
the
motion.
However, do we wanna talk about tabby fee? I mean, I don't think it's a bad
No,
idea.
I don't either. Tabby is impervious, correct? No, so that wouldn't help, that wouldn't help them in their
Everyone
life.
else is gonna all.
Yeah. But it is a nice design feature,
But-
some of your neighborhoods already have this, you know.
We have done it in the past, sometimes just, maybe an apron with a tabby as an accent or most ways,
I think the walkways would be. It would be nice to have the walkways here and there, I mean, I don't know if we have one every house, sorry.
Point of clarification there, the structure's footprint or lot coverage is limited to 25. There's other requirements for the total lot impervious surface.
Okay.
So those are two separate things. So when we're talking about lot coverage, in this case, for this particular PD, that's for the single family residence. And then there's different impervious coverage requirements.
Okay, wait, say that,
But
voted part of the PD. Or there's,
Believe so, yes, so there's.
so you've got maximum lot coverage by primary structure is 25%, single family detached.
Is there another line that says maximum lot coverage in general?
That's what I was looking for.
total lot coverage.
Right.
Which we're going to be defining when we get to amendments.
So then. There's the lot covered in there, and I know in here that there's a. In the conditions of approval, there was one that references to 35% impervious coverage for the total lot. See that,
And that was approval conditions for a plat?
the conditions of approval of the plat, from their plat, I don't know if they necessarily apply, that's something that. Is questionable, because it would require an amendment to the plan development.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like an enforceable
Yeah.
condition. In my humble opinion.
That's right.
But whether it's tabby or concrete or
Yeah.
concrete.
I don't.
And would, and do we think that Jeff was intending to say there could be a tabby element to every site? I guess that's kind of up to our decision
If I.
now and then.
Sorry, if I may, there are recommendations in here to use low impact development, like impervious pavers. Bioswales, things like that when necessary or when applicable. So that's another thing to consider when talking about impervious coverage is that the plan development recommends that low impact development strategies be used on the lots.
I will say we are utilizing biosales in between the lots. That requirement.
This is not an architectural, this is site plan requirement, right?
The tabby, is that?
The material itself.
The tabby would be an architectural, but not.
Right.
If it's on a facade, but versus the driveway,
Yeah, is the driveway material covered by that? I mean, I mean, all the driveways are gonna be concrete, right? I mean, that's another. Like,
So
we're not
can we-
gonna have grass
Yeah.
driveway.
Dude, what's, but if we're talking about the patio, are we thinking some of the houses could or should, and how do we, again?
Yeah, how does it do that?
Yeah, that's
You're
your,
all in one.
I don't know.
They're all.
I mean, some people choose that perfect, right? Without it being required.
Yeah, my hesitation with, agreement on that upfront would be, identifying the vendor, what is their availability, what is the cost of it, we've run into. Situations in the past where we've tried to offer different materials and it can deliver, so. Just keeping that in mind, I don't have enough information on that, to be able to say we can execute well.
And we just hope that.
It sounds like what Jeff was saying is, he was just making suggestions overall.
Yeah.
Suggestions. That's different than
That's
that's
how
fire.
Does anybody feel really strongly about this happening?
I don't.
Try to use some.
Yeah. I will absolutely look into it.
Good, work hard for it, and I mean, exposed aggregate would also be an option to vary things, I mean, the big piece
Okay,
more
so
so
we
we
got this motion.
I don't think we added them and having those concrete, I don't think we added them and having those concrete.
I don't even.
No, we didn't.
I'm saying, I don't think we need to,
All in favor?
of the entire motion,
Yes.
alright?
Aye. So we need another vote here?
Just for the record, I'm opposed to the motion. I assume you are as well, I didn't hear you say aye.
I'm ready to abstain, then we do this again.
Yep, we do.
There would have to be a new motion on the floor because that would be a tie vote, so you'd have to do a brand new motion. Because then the entirety of the motion, including the
Well, it's
amendment.
easy to do the motion, but we're gonna make any progress the next time you, I don't think, beat something else.
I'm afraid this is as good as we're gonna get.
All right.
So,
But you have, then you have to call for nays, right, people? I'd say you call for nays and then. You just call for ayes.
No, okay. All in favor, we got two ayes,
Two ayes.
we got one nay and one, I don't know.
But they were saying they're thinking about it, I'm just saying. for the
No,
record.
I'm not.
Alright, so you're no, and you,
Actually,
He abstained for the record on that motion.
you were thinking about abstaining.
Yes.
Roll call.
I feel like that.
Okay, and if there's any difference. Guys.
That way we have everything on the record. as the one.
Yeah, it's about the record, right?
Yeah.
So, all in favor? Aye.
We've done that.
Yeah, he's asking.
No,
us to do it again.
what the attorney is asking for is that each individual one goes. Aye.
I see, that's good, I get.
Yeah,
Chairman Austin,
aye.
Vice Chair Ryder. You want me to keep calling when they come back?
I mean, we've been handed this, I mean, I don't think we're gonna get anything better.
I can try.
Jane.
Keep going down the roll call, because he's gonna think about this until next year. Well,
Mr. Gardner,
Aye.
Mr. Ryder.
We have good intentions here, we're excited about the already product.
we understand you've got good intentions, we have our concerns, but I think, we address them to Mike, that's it.
I don't wanna get either, so I don't know that, I don't know what we're gonna, how we're gonna get these added, so we're gonna do, there's a PD, so I'll say, okay, alright.
There's our roll call. Motion pass. Thank you very much for your generous time and putting up with
For clarity for the record, just to confirm, there was 8 conditions added, 7 from the original motion and then 1 amendment. Those conditions were that party plank siding had to be used on all 4 sides. Windows must be on all 4 sides. The roof must be made of shingle material or metal. The variation of siding between shakeboard, batten, or lap. Front shutters. And then architectural offsets, variation in front setbacks. and then to amend to require site exhibits as described by the applicant to ensure the location, plan, materials, and update with each review.
That's my list, yes.
Got it to you.
Does that, you know, any questions about the promise? You understood them all? Sure.
Chairman, are you ready to move on to the next?
Yes, I am.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to old business. We have two zoning, we have zoning districts and amenity space ordinance, what we wish to discuss. There's comments. Last meeting that I was at, which was 2 months ago, they were. I thought in your final, they were discussed again at the last meeting that was down there. So this will be the third time. I have a feeling that, we were gonna have more difficulties getting at all with the zoning districts. So in the interest of getting us home in a reasonable time, I would move that we set off the amendment to the zoning district until the next meeting. And if we took up the amenity space ordinance this week. I don't see any problems with that anymore.
For clarity of the record, you're referring to the amendments to include the village, commercial, and town center as directed by the planning commission.
Which
If I
page,
may.
can you tell me which page these are on so I can follow along?
Of course, yep. So this listed as page 5 of 6 in the beginning with the conservation district.
Oh, yeah.
The total packet number is 15 of 19.
Yeah. You're adding a 17 through 19.
Y'all have previously reviewed the conservation park and residential zoning districts.
Yes.
And they've been tabulated in here. Staff would then ask to create the same purpose, location, dimensional standards for village, commercial, and town center as proposed in the future land use map. And those have been provided with guidance through the rural commercial design that the county has, but increasing the lot size to 1 acre instead of 40,000 square. And keeping in mind that the town center is proposed to be more of a pedestrian ideal approach, so it has smaller setbacks in the front or more setbacks in the front to allow that. No, I'm completely wrong there. That's 35-foot setback, which is typical for a residential zoning district, and then 15, and then 35 for the corner, and 25 for the rear. So increasing, making sure that structures are closer to the front of the road so that they're pedestrian access, and then conversely for commercial, offsetting structures from Highway 17 or wherever they may be located as designated in the future land use map. So there's more area for ingress, egress, and parking and visual screening.
So you want us to go through this thing. All right. I don't see where it was passed at the last meeting because the 4 zones put together by Ms. Messino and Mr. Hardy, conservation residential, rural residential, village residential. At 1 and 2, when will they pass?
The language was confirmed. They have not been approved for formal action, which
No, they haven't. So that means that all those zones have not been approved for formal action.
well, that's what the approval would be for tonight,
No, that's what you're asking for.
or a recommendation for your further amendments or discussion to continue working on this.
I think if my memory was correct, last time we talked about this. I think we were all satisfied, we talked about the residential districts, I think we were all satisfied with the residential districts, we didn't take a formal vote. 1, there were only 3 of us here, I think, but 2. We know this isn't gonna go forward to town council yet, so we didn't feel it necessary to formally vote on it until we had all of the districts done as well as the use table and use regulations.
We're gonna have anyway, we're gonna have a public meeting after we get these. So just to make sure that the public and the council doesn't object to one of our districts and disappear. Because I don't want to do all the use, put us through all the use stuff until we know that the district outline is okay.
Okay.
Then we can work on it. So we do the public meetings and send it to council. And if they're okay with our districts, then we're gonna do uses. And it's gonna take a fair amount of time.
But the point clarification on what you just said. Is you would send the districts to council for adoption?
No,
Okay.
just consider, tell us,
Are
No,
we
it's a- it's gonna
going
crash and burn.
I got you, okay.
and if it isn't gonna crash and burn,
Before we
then
waste time.
then we'll
Yeah.
do uses.
I like that idea.
I mean, we went through a bunch and put together a very good plan development. I think, but it crashed and burned. Fine, let's not do that again.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, okay, so we haven't formally accepted conservation, rural, and those, though 2 meetings ago. I thought we were in very good shape and everybody was okay with it. Last meeting, same thing. I'd like to move forward and say they're okay. And then pick up the 2 zones that I asked Dan, is that all right?
Well, I'm still sad that they don't have architectural or agricultural. Whether, I'm the only one that cares about that.
When I was, yeah, I thought that was gonna happen. We put in architectural as.
For agriculture, I said they're wrong.
We put in arch-
3
We
acres.
didn't approve that, okay, I put in, we put in architectural land of the conservation residential, but the council's come back and specified 3 acre lots for the architectural. I mean,
Yeah,
the
agriculture. Yeah.
Point of correction.
agricultural zone.
Yeah, point of correction there. It's 2.25 acre for AG general,
Meaning is minimum.
agricultural general is
Agriculture, so I think that if we don't put agricultural in
Your
here,
name.
it's gonna bounce.
Yeah, I like.
So conservation, residential and agricultural, some sort of ridiculous name.
In the name, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then kind of to build off, just for a point of clarification, so they don't get confused in the record. The town council has proposed increasing the lot sizes to the residential zoning district and then the agricultural general zoning district. In that, town council also proposed an amendment to remove explicitly agricultural use and then listed other uses. So that's listed and shown in that proposed ordinance. On there, that the agricultural use is struck and then it says or other uses.
So agricultural don't need the name of it anymore.
It's still the name, but there's a reference to the uses
And
and
that's included in other.
it's struck in the ordinance.
Right?
It's in the actual text of the ordinance. It's,
So so you're saying they are, it appears they're intending to remove agricultural uses as allowed uses from the agricultural general zoning district?
Or they're just listing other to encompass our agriculture. That's how I understood it.
I believe there's a line that reads agricultural uses and that part is struck and then refers to other uses. So the explicit citation to ag uses is struck from that section of the ordinance.
So what is the title of that? So.
Is agricultural general.
So.
Agriculture's in there, and it just can be inferred that other uses could be in agriculture, obviously if that's in the title.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm
cool.
Well, I would make that motion in just a bit, conservation, residential, I mean.
I don't see any agriculture.
Yeah.
That's not before you tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, so those just had public hearing and have not been brought.
So are we putting the cart before the horse and talking about these? This is not the most up to date thing?
No. So these are the recommended zones as part of the future land use map,
We want to put it in the
which
next.
would be incorporated if there's a full rezoning to take place at a later date. So planning commission has begun working on those zones as recommended by the future land use map.
And
Perfect.
so I didn't know.
You're okay.
And the council presumably is making these amendments to existing zoning districts as sort of a stopgap between for subdivisions that, well, I guess there's a moratorium, so
Yeah, this is stopgap.
I'm just wondering,
What's the point?
why are we doing these if they're amending the current zoning districts? Like, should we nix some of these and go back to whatever they?
We're not rewriting.
Well, I know, they're.
It's state law. I mean, gas can come from here.
That was one thing that I was gonna add as part of this discussion, is that now that the minimum residential lot size has increased to 1 acre. There is a smaller residential lot zone in here. So the council is already intending to increase that to 1 acre. So it's likely that the V2 district would not be approved by town council, as they're looking on those ordinances today.
So we submit this thing, when we, in advance. And let the council do one way or another, but the state law says it's gotta come from here. What we have to do, we have to review it, so that's exactly what we're doing.
That sounds right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, not to doubt you, I just want to make sure.
Here. All right, so we've got the conservation residential and maybe agricultural, the rural residential, the village residential 1, the village residential 2, all of which we've discussed. At least the past 2 meetings. Does anybody have any changes to those?
So when you say conservation, residential, agricultural, I'd like to have that written down there as part of the thing, the word agricultural. So we can put it, I just don't see it on my paper. So when we make the motion, we can just use that word. I would appreciate it.
I would say there, for a point of clarification, that the amendment to that district as it's presented would require also a comprehensive plan amendment, since it's written in the comp plan as conservation residential and shown on the future land use map. So that would require amendment to the comprehensive plan.
And how would that come about?
And that would be a 30-day public notice period, and then I believe a reading of town council, planning commission review, and then a second reading of town council. So typical ordinance adoption.
All right.
All right, well, we can do one or two things. We can add agricultural now. I don't have any problems with changing the amendments to the comprehensive plan, and we're told that at least 50 times, but in the predecessor, that we can freely do that. We made the comprehensive plan, we can propose a change. It's not that council's got to do it.
And the staff would not deny that. I was just stating that that change, the name change, would trigger that. But if it's listed in the purpose, that's different and can still allow the use without changing the direct name. And we allow uses when we do the use tables.
Okay, so in the interest of just moving this thing forward, why don't we just leave it in the intended purposes and conservation residential, rural residential, village residential 1, village residential 2, as written and discussed, that we approve those. So we can move on to.
And we're saying that because of this sentence here, the district is intended to accommodate very low density residential uses on large lots while preserving agricultural land. That's the, what we're saying is everything there.
And we'll have the use table that says agricultural uses are allowed in the district.
Is that not here?
Not yet.
Everything that you say.
That's what we're.
That's why we're,
Yeah,
that's what the public hearing. I've made a motion. We have a second. I move that we accept the conservation residential, rural residential, village residential 1, and village residential 2 as written on this document between pages 12 and 12 and 19. Or 14.
Second.
All in favor?
I'm moving that.
Okay.
Because I wanted to see agricultural,
So we've got 3, 4, 1 against. All right, so now we are moving on to what we asked Dan to do. Village commercial and village center, and I only have one comment, and that is why, and this is nitpicking, why do we have a lot coverage of 45% in the village commercial and 40% in the town center? I think there's gonna be some fair sized buildings in the town center, I'll give them 45%.
Well, the smallest residential zoning district allows for 40%. So in theory, the moving outward from where your nodes would be, that next district would essentially be B2, and then town center B2, and then moving out, looking at the comp plan and kind of thinking largely about those things. So staff took the lot coverage from B2, translated it over to town center to promote, unified buildings and lots.
So town center would be less downtownish than
the village to commercial.
in the village correct.
I was thinking.
No, I was thinking the opposite too, because town center, we've always talked about being this little space.
This is
where-
the town center, this is it, there is no town center.
It seems to me that those would be little shops on small lots, and that they,
We have set it at 1 acre.
yeah. Right, but I would see that they could be bigger than, more lot coverage than the 40 like you were saying. That would make sense to me if that was the village center.
I just said 45 because the commercial was 45. Does it make any difference?
Why do we have, front setback at 55 versus 35? What's the thinking there?
The thinking was that on Highway 17, where we may see more of our village commercial, that it's set more off
Yeah,
of 17. And then where we're in town center, it's more of a pedestrian friendly environment, so you'd like to have it a little bit closer to allow for access.
Exactly the question I asked, and that's what he said, and I have,
That sounds perfect.
I'm true.
But I like the 45 on both also.
So change the lot coverage on town center.
Town center, I think 40.
That's good, that looks pretty good to me. Jay,
I can't find any follow-up.
Kelly,
One suggestion and then one thing maybe for discussion. On town center paragraph B location, the last sentence that you have in bold italics, I would make that. I would put that in its own paragraph and make it a development standard and like, so it's clear that we are requiring pedestrian connection from two adjacent parcels.
so you just want a paragraph there.
Yeah,
Okay, so that
just
you
the second
see,
part from location, exactly, yeah.
The last one becomes the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
either way.
Okay.
fine,
And then I wonder, after all of our discussion today about architectural standards, do we put in these commercial districts some basic architectural building design standards, materials, that sort of thing, because we're gonna, I mean,
That's always been a huge part of what we've done all the years leading up to this new planning commission was that. Commercial places had to look low country, and they always use CB Outpost as an example of a nice low country architecture. And that's always been very pervasive in everything that we've ever put out up until this new group has come along, that was something that. You know, this RV place, for instance, had to look like it had to look, because otherwise it would have been, you know, the side of the Dollar General store on all four sides of that, and. I think it's important to keep it.
but
yeah,
this is the group who gave us all the plan development, so let's just take it easy.
I'm just saying,
But to Commissioner Gardner's point there, the architectural guidelines and some of the things that were previously proposed were by individuals who had familiarity with architectural guidelines. I believe Jody or Jody's husband was an architect by trade. So there were some knowledgeable people about architecture and about these design guidelines, and even some of the dark sky stuff that we see, albeit it's changed over time, but you know, there have been strides for commercial design standards as it relates to planned developments, but a lot of the things that staff here are, because our code was one way, that it was recommended that those be the parameters, so there will be more. You could more fluidly create new requirements as you move through time instead of doing a lot of rewrite, which would have been difficult for a small staff and all that time and effort. So I think to all of the points made, that it's important to incorporate some design criteria now when we have the staff and the proficiency to go ahead and do that. I recommend that.
and is this the vehicle in which we list those, this here is.
Yeah, so
in zone,
I think it was in 2023 or 2024 that there were actually commercial guidelines proposed to town council that were withdrawn or denied. So this has been a bit of a topic for a little while.
can we go back to what was there by a previous planning commission and they. Mhm.
Yeah, remember,
so,
we don't wanna. Sounds like that's gonna take some time, we don't.
Could we
wanna
dig up
do
a
that
copy of
until we
the-
know what these numbers are.
So if you reference back to that planning commission meeting, there were commercial guidelines that were approved and adopted later by the planning commission in 2018. So there have already been strides to adopt those for planning commission's review of certain plan developments. Some of those which y'all may or may not have seen in this capacity, I haven't seen them since I've been
I
here.
remember seeing them and they were intent on I mean, they didn't want people to rebuild the CV outpost 50 times, but they wanted them to be in keeping with that theme. And it was nice
We'll
looking.
still put in the plea that we get our zones approved in general concept before we spend a lot of time putting in.
So we can go back and redo this.
So,
No, the architectural things will be added as we go through each one of these things.
And that's how that worked.
I think that makes, I mean, I think that's,
Yeah.
just knowing what council's doing now with the text amendments, I think that's a good approach, and we could just put a placeholder in here that says. We'd like to propose some architectural standards, and they don't have to be complicated, I mean, they can be as simple as materials and things like that, or we can provide photographs of here's the style that we're looking
Yeah.
for, kind of thing, But that way, we're not spending a lot of time on it, but we're.
So we could just put an E, it says to also include architectural suggestions or requirements to follow.
Yeah,
Something to that effect.
Yeah.
Architectural requirements to be developed.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
How's that?
That's perfect. Staff actually recommended that consideration to town council very recently, so this is something that's a fluid conversation.
All right, so we had, yes, we will change next. So, is there any other changes to this? We've gotten a new paragraph and we've added the, architectural requirements pending
To follow, yeah.
and to follow, and, what else?
We changed a lot.
Yeah.
Yep. Never,
We did change the law.
Yeah, 40 and 45. Okay.
On this one,
I would like to move that we, yes, we did, right there.
29%.
We talked about it, we did right now.
Yeah. That one's 45. Yes, and we.
All right, make a motion, wait.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the village commercial and town center with the changes of adding a C beginning since town center parcels and a D with architectural requirements to follow. And the town center district dimensions to reflect lot coverage maximum 45%.
And can we put on also then?
Let's get a second.
I'll second.
Okay, all right.
Sure, but,
And then I make what is it called?
So do we get
Amendment.
we got a second? Right?
Second.
And then we have motion to amend.
And then I propose that we amend that motion to also include those architectural designs to follow to village commercial, because you had only put on a D under town center, but not also in village commercial. We should have it on both.
Fine. I mean, does anybody have an issue with that?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
There we go. Got it together. We are now on to amended space, which I think on very rapid.
Before we do, so there's discussion about providing this to town council. So
Not yet.
not yet, so staff will take these edits and then bring them back.
Bring them back. You see a unified document, and then we will submit them to town council, and we will hold a public meeting. Public hearing, which we have to do, by the way. So we'll hold a public hearing and we'll give this to town council, and we'll take those comments and decide whether we want to use it. We'll take what we've got and let's start putting in the detail.
Was that, as the staff can start looking at architectural standards to put in here, or we're sending it to town council with that? As,
We are, no, we haven't developed them yet, but we got a placeholder here.
right,
Let me see. No, village commercial, now we're gonna do, town center, now we're gonna do village commercial.
If we're not asking staff to do that now and time is of the essence, I'm comfortable with Dan making the 3 amendments that were part of your motion and moving it on to council. I don't need to see it again. I mean, like you said before, we've looked at this, the residential districts, 3 times now. I mean, I'm good with it if we wanna
Well,
move things along.
we've now approved it, you would like to move it along. What do you think?
I agree with you, let's send it to him.
Sir, please move this along, council.
Does it have to have the public hearing first?
So it wouldn't be a text amendment. We just want council to review this draft and say, yes, you're headed in the right direction. Keep going.
And that's what
Or we don't like this, and this.
And then we can do the public.
And then we can do a public meeting and get community feedback and then do
Well,
the.
people started talking about putting in all these details, I was going like, done this once. I learned.
At the town council meeting, staff have an opportunity to present like a report from the last month. So I'll incorporate this as part of my report to town council to say, hey, we've been talking about it a little bit. Here are the exact zones that are being proposed by the planning commission. They're thinking about holding a public hearing on these exact items. Do you have comments and concerns? If so, please provide them to staff. Staff will disseminate back to the planning commission to avoid the town council talking directly to you on for
It would be a public meeting though, right?
It would just be a
Public-
discussion item for town council, then come back to y'all before they actually take any action on it.
Right, I'm just saying, but the public meeting, is that the one where we were gonna like go to the co-op or go to the Seaweed Center or something, or that's the zoning, that's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
So that'd just be
We
public
gotta tell the public. what we're going-
workshop,
we're going
right?
to do.
Okay,
Could be a workshop, could be a council, wherever, wherever.
yeah, but it's not a public, and it might just be me, but public hearing to me is like. We're getting ready to adopt this, and it's part of like the formal adoption process, but I don't think we're there. yet.
No.
Just.
This would be like a preemptive, open door, be like, hey, these are the
I
zones
gotcha.
that we're thinking,
Okay.
try to get ideas.
Just like our septic workshop that we had here where the public is able to answer questions or stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they want more
okay.
than us just sitting here listening to them, that's feedback, and
Yeah,
they deserve that.
okay.
Okay, a minute of space. We need to take, one, I'm on page 17, by the way. 153-312-1, that's the table, and add these two that we just adopted in there.
Well, the applicability paragraph B right now is just to major residential subdivisions, and
Yep. We
what
want,
would we have? I don't think we would have major residential subdivisions in the.
we've already got, just behind, what can I call it? The village, the convenience center. That
Ah.
big wide area,
Yeah,
one of the houses. Multi-family houses. I mean,
but it's not, but nothing's zoned in those districts, like they're
I
not.
haven't established the outlines of the zone. We've established a concept.
Right, and that's shown, that's shown on the future land use map as more as town center, is that what you're saying?
What exactly is the town center is unknown to me. All I know is it's this intersection right here, the town center, and then go from there. Now, county has determined that the nodes, the village nodes, they've already established that. They own a good portion of the land around three of those, one of them being Seaweed and 17. The other one being Heron's Bridge and 17. Fair amount if you include Berkeley at the north end of Door, and in particular around Steep Creek Road and 17. So a good portion of that land is in the county's 17 North Plan, and our village residential and is very close to their criteria. So I think they're gonna probably be in pretty good shape. Like, we control one side of the road and the county controls the other, and then the best example of that is one very large soccer complex and what's going in across the river, which will be garages with apartments over the top. Okay, that's county, so they got one half the road there. So we gotta sort of, we don't have to, but I would sort of like to stay reasonably close to.
If I may have a point of clarification, because these are technically two different parts of the state law, right? So we have our
Yeah.
zoning code and then our land use development regulations. Which this would be in our land development regulation section under the subdivisions. So to Kelly's point, they would fall under the subdivision, particular major residential subdivisions instead of just the true zoning districts. So it would be reviewed on a case by case if there's a major subdivision within that zoning district. Is that correct, Kelly?
All right, so you're okay with the way it is, and then if we get some, we're not gonna have any residential subdivisions in village commercial. But I think we'll probably have some multi-family dwellings in village center.
Town center.
Town center.
It says it's a blend of retail, office spaces, institutional, civic uses. Doesn't say anything about residential.
It says accessory use, residential activities are accessory use in town. So that would make sense to have, if you have residential use, you should have amenity things, so. So perhaps we add town center to the table, but not village commercial, because village commercial is intended to be.
What would you suggest for town center? We're gonna go with the amenity space.
Before you get there, where this, you know, I know the locations to be determined, but what is the thought of that? Is that this area? specific?
As proposed in the future land use map, town center is kind of shown around the intersection between door 17. And I believe it extends across 17 a little bit, which the pedestrian idea of that gets a little skewed on how that would work, but we'll forget
And all
that
the
just
way,
for now.
and all the way to town hall.
Correct, yeah, so it is literally the intersection of door 17 and CB right here is what town center is. or was proposed to be.
Plan.
And then as you move out, that's where the village commercial will show up on Highway 17 with residential uses kind of staggered around.
We got two village commercials, one is just put the termite on one side of the road, and the other side is the countertop fabrication and
Crawl space.
yeah. And then we got at South Sea, the Four Corners Stadium. Yeah.
It's so in town center, if the purpose, if it says that residential activities are accessory use in this district, does that mean? Like apartments over commercial, is that, I mean, is that the thinking, and not major residential subdivisions, like we're. Yeah,
It's like a live work residence.
Essentially, yes, so it's supposed to blend, you know, the professional use or whatever the retail is and potentially have an apartment overhead. And that's just what has been recommended previously through the town center aspect. And then as you look at rural town centers, they have a lot of the, you know, shops on the bottom, residences on top. That's typical across all rural America.
yeah,
You
so
think
we,
about rural downtowns.
yeah. So we would, so in the amenity space, we would. Add town center to table 312-1 as whatever percentage, and then we would change paragraph B applicability to. Major residential subdivisions and residential development or town developments in the town center district that contain residential uses.
Okay, you got a suggestion on town center?
For the percentage,
Yeah. I was coming up and saying it's village residential too, 30%.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I mean, I
How
want
about think about how that looks, though, it seems a lot.
I want to be able to walk around at the town center. And it's supposed to be all pedestrian walkways and all that stuff. How they gonna get that?
Would pedestrian walkways count as amenities?
I mean, yeah.
Then how, so how to define
Depends
amenities?
on how they're defined in the ordinance.
I mean,
paragraph F.
I guess a park here and there, but if you're thinking about somebody's got a one lot space and they're gonna have 45% of it being a shop. And presumably the other 55%, most of which being parking and some walkways. Where are they really gonna fit 20% amenities?
It doesn't work.
No,
It's
it
simple
doesn't
lot.
fit. You're right.
It's a lot.
Well, how are we gonna get this walking around to the town center? If there are a bunch of private lots and everybody's got their business and their parking.
I think that we could make a requirement that you must connect a walkway across the front of sidewalk. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure we're not the first town to require sidewalks and we're right, because
It doesn't have to be like a separate amenity space requirement, we can just require that.
No share town fountain or anything like that. I'm gonna.
it would be great, but I don't know if we've got a one lot that somebody's gonna. And
No,
we've got
it has to be
a
specified in the overall the master plan.
Yeah, why do we?
this piece of property, so have to go on.
And then also kind of build off the conversation a little bit, because we are talking about, you know, what town council may or may not do. Town center is in the future land use map, but as an actual future land use, it's excluded. Why that occurred, I'm not sure. I don't think a true amendment ever came to the future land use map, but it is proposed in the future land use map and as prescribed. Planning commission can design that district, so that's kind of what this conversation is about, so. Before we get too far in the weeds on those aspects of town center, it may be a good idea to get further guidance or considerations from town council before we go too far and it gets scrapped.
Yeah, but I aspire to a better looking town center. Okay,
Agreed.
some pedestrian walkways, maybe a little mini park, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wonder if there's like a development size or acreage trigger. I mean, I know this whole area isn't very big, but I do share that concern that we're gonna get single lot developments where it
I
just.
do too, but what I'm thinking is, if we're gonna
how's
have
that?
10 lots with 10 buildings on it, or we're gonna have a little tiny park every 10, I mean, it would make more sense if it was
Central.
a central spot.
We're talking about the center.
But one person is not gonna develop all 10 of those things, so that percentage of amenity space would have to be applicable to the entirety of the space if we wanted one central spot. But as we're laying it out, we're giving each individual lot a amenity percentage, which.
Gonna get wasted.
It's gonna be hard to get. Yeah, I'd certainly rather see it in one spot.
Why do we even need an amenity space for farm?
I don't think we did.
Well, we need a master plan for it, which we're
Yeah.
not gonna do this evening. So, let's just leave. the
Yeah,
later.
The other good news is that we did get some grant money recently to outfit our park, and this area could continue to develop to be kind of that amenity, central amenity space around town center as, or if this zone does turn into that this would be a focal point of that area.
All right, so we're back on amenity space here. Folks would like to go home. I certainly would. We have agreed to take town center off of this chart. The rest of this chart will come directly out of the motion we just passed prior to this, so we don't have to do anything with that. Is there anything of substance that we need to, we're remembering that we did this another time?
Just one question I have is that. Obviously, the intent is that village residential 1, village residential 2 are. Big developments that we are trying to ensure that they include amenity space, but in theory, we have one lot that gets zoned village residential. One person's building one lot that is of the. Acreage requirement where they could qualify for a village residential, we're not gonna make one guy put an amenity space on his thing. Where in here does it say that it just goes to something? I got you. Sorry, I missed that there. I just wanna make sure we're not applying to some
Another
other.
residual building. Oh, man. I would like to bring you back for one other thing, and I think if you close this out, look at the top of the page, 153-0009, impervious surface. Now, let's go back to, staff questions. Okay, on page 11, first question put to us by staff. At the bottom of the page, the current zoning ordinance does not define lot coverage. We've got a definition of impervious surfaces right here. They seem to be the same to me. Why don't we just adopt that? And answer that question. That we've already passed this thing, but we didn't define lot coverage. What is it? And basically you already made that definition. Actually, Kelly made that definition. It's right there.
No, I asked the question, I didn't make it. I don't think-
Well, you're
Yeah,
proposing that we should put a reference in here as shown in and incite that paragraph. Yeah,
I like it.
And I'm not following.
Yeah,
I'm not either.
What page are you referencing?
Look at page 11. Look at the bottom of the page.
I see that.
Yeah.
Footnote 1. This is the zoning ordinance.
I got that, where is this?
So that
This is 153.
that's in reference to the zoning districts.
Yeah, it's just, it's a whole
I
definition say.
So
We never defined it.
what JD is proposing, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is that we would do an amendment to the amenity space to include a definition for lot coverage in there, so it would just go to all of our definitions. So instead of amending the zoning districts that we've already proposed and adding the definition, we just add it in this.
Or you could say, I mean, you could use
as
impervious
defined, yeah.
surface and lot coverage, impervious surface ratio and lot coverage is interchangeable.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
That's
Yeah.
where I'm going.
Okay, but you see, that's what.
I didn't want to get past that question that you put on our.
I
Gonna get to it.
Kelly put that on there, not me.
I know she put it on there, even though she's denying it.
I didn't deny that, that's my question.
All right. Okay, so there it is.
I said I didn't write the definition, Dan wrote the definition.
Okay, you can take it away, joint blame, how about that? All right, so can we call lot coverage and impervious surface the same thing? Is that what you, I mean, that seems
Yeah.
okay with me.
Yeah.
You need any clarification there?
So you'd be requesting to amend the proposed definition for impervious surface to read an impervious surface or lot coverage.
Yes,
Why don't we just make a definition for lot coverage that says it's the amount of lot covered by impervious surface?
okay, sounds good. My lawyer wants it that way, so we will do it. All in favor of that?
Motion.
Okay, that we use the definition of lot coverage, that's same as the definition of impervious surface and lot coverage is on page 17 instead of just impervious surfaces. Is that what you want? I mean, you want to use that definition?
I would, no, I'll try to compare, I would, it would be motion to approve with the addition of a definition for lot coverage to include all surface that is defined as impervious surface.
In the definition section or in otherwise known as this.
It's
That's
the
right.
percentage of,
Yeah.
yes, the percentage of impervious surface.
Yes, that's the part here, yeah.
What he said,
So moved,
Did I
right?
get that?
yes,
Okay, second,
all in favor?
I second it to be.
Thank you. I do read your footnotes. Okay, now we're on to amenity space as a whole. I move for its passage.
Second.
All in favor?
Well, wait, I think that the motion that was on the floor was to adopt the ordinance and to include.
Yeah.
Did the definition, we already voted on
fine.
Okay, yeah.
So we've already done it.
So we've already done it.
You've already.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord. Okay.
Motion adjourned.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn that
So
we
moved.
already give it. So I think that is a second.
Second.
All right.
All in favor? Thank you very much for your.